writing down.
And Craig Elsten.
I was keeping a zipper in my ding dong.
And featuring Braden Soprano. The good times start now. Here are your hosts, Andy and Elsten, on San Diego's #1 sports station.
Oh, we're early.
The Fan.
I think this is the earliest start in Andy and Elsten show history.
I know.
It's not even 10 o'clock.
Not even 10 o'clock yet.
Wow.
All
right.
right.
Nonetheless, you're meant to hang us here. We're so eager that we're checking in even a little bit early for you on Andy and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3. The Fan, back with you. Two-thirds collaborated. The restart of the Andy and Elsten
show will officially be on Wednesday when Annie is back. I was out half of last week. Now it's Salute to Champions night tonight. And as such, Annie is off today to work on it, tomorrow to break it all down. She'll be back on Wednesday. But Braden Soprano and I, Craig Elsten, here with you together for 4 hours of live local San Diego sports talk radio on your #1 sports station. It's great to be back. How are you, Braden? How's things? How was your weekend?
Doing well. Weekend was good. I'm going to send Ben Woods my invoice for the extra couple of seconds there.
Yeah.
We had to cover for them.
Solid 13 seconds.
That's not on us. That's definitely on them.
Yeah, I would agree.
They bailed a little bit early.
They checked out.
Yeah.
They're just like, hey,
they're not going to do a full 40. You know what? They owe us on Friday.
Not closers.
That's right.
Had to hand it off.
Yeah, better knock the coffee out of it.
Coffee is for closers. We've got a fun show
lined up today. As usual, it's a Monday, so we're going to kind of knock out all the different things that happened over the course of the weekend It was a very exciting weekend for football, very exciting weekend, college football, NFL, of course, college hoops. Very consequential weekend. Got a story from being out at Lion Tree Arena over the weekend, but not as much joy to be found on the local level there. We'll get through it all and plenty more on today's program. First thing I wanted to say on the show, Braden, before we do anything else, is just to acknowledge what's going on up in Los Angeles, in L.A. County, the wildfires that have absolutely ravaged the region, that now looks to be the biggest natural disaster in United States history. What is happening? We are Southern Californians. We know what it means, what fire season means. The fact that it's fire season in the middle of January, that's just what it is right now. And I'm so thankful for all the people who have been putting their lives on the line over the course of the last week to try and do their best to save others' lives, to save others' homes and property. Property can be rebuilt, lives cannot. And it's just been horrific to watch from afar. We have experienced it ourselves, of course, so many times here in San Diego. So all my thoughts go out to everybody, not only who has been affected, people who have been evacuated from their homes.
Welcome to Lumen Operator Assistance.
Okay.
The phone just took over.
Seriously.
Wow.
Welcome. Well,
somebody's
operator,
talking to the phone. Somebody's using our phone.
Yeah. Operator, I'd like to send a call out to all of the great first responders and the firefighters and everybody who has been working hard over the course of the last week. And our thoughts out to everybody who has been affected, who's been dislocated, who's been displaced, or for folks here in San Diego who have family that has been displaced, friends, colleagues, coworkers, what have you, who have been displaced. This is just such a horrifying time when it affects you. And, of course, when it's not affecting you right now, let's all be thankful and grateful that this time we're not burning, but we know we're going to be ready for the next time. So big shout out to everyone in LA.
We got a red flag warning for the next 2 days, too.
Yes, we do.
So always be on your toes.
My wife was busy pointing out a lot of the areas that we could fix our fire retardant situation at the home yesterday.
Yeah, it's tough in Southern California for sure. So, again, the Cal Fire guys doing a great job, and everybody that's come from out of state and out of country to help out. I love watching the videos of the jets.
Yes.
And the DC-10s flying over and all that stuff, and the helicopters. Those guys are badass. And there's some videos on social media that have their headsets hooked up like their intercoms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's pretty crazy job. They're all sitting in there and they're like pointing things out in the cockpit and trying to go with like, all right, you're clear to go take that area out. How do you want to approach this and stuff? It's pretty fascinating stuff, but they're doing a great job.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. My wife said over the weekend she was watching those same kind of videos on Instagram. She's like, I could just watch this all day. And I'm like, think about what you're saying, though. Think about what it takes for you to have to watch that. I'd rather not watch it at all. But I do appreciate it. It is incredibly badass. So with that in mind, I just wanted to put that at the top because I've been seeing so much of it, and I have, family up there. Nothing's affected Long Beach. Got friends up there. One of my friends got moved out of his apartment and then got to move back in, but he was out for a couple of days. Everyone's on pins and needles, and you understand why, and all of us remember, if you're old enough, you don't have to be too old to remember living through major wildfires here in San Diego. I was on the air in 2007 for, I want to say that was the Cedar Fire, but I could be wrong. There's been so many.
I remember the 03 one.
Yeah, I think 03 was the Cedar Fire. I have to look
so
up.
too. The 03 one moved us around a lot more than the 07 one did. 07 one only moved us for a little bit and we got to go back. But the 03 one, I evacuated from Lakeside to Scripps Ranch, then to another place in Scripps Ranch, then to Carlsbad, then back down to Casa de Oro. And when I made it to Casa de Oro, like day 3, Mount Miguel was on fire. And so it was just like it seemed like a matter of time, but then they ended up putting it out. That was definitely the most evacuating that I've had to do in my life. And I remember watching, just like the traffic getting out of these places and everything like that. But you learn from a lot of that, and it becomes better for a lot of areas that have had to deal with that before. So, and the firefighters do a great job of knocking out these fires very quickly. Obviously, when you got Santa Ana winds, it's a little bit different. That's somewhat it's hard to fight those fires up there. So, done a good job of I think the latest was 11% contained. Which means that it's not moving too much anymore. I think the rule of thumb is 3%. 3% contained means they're not worried about it really jumping and being out of control. And then, of course, the percentages of containment is going in there, and there's little spots here and there that they got to go through and put out. But it's hard work for those guys at CAL FIRE and everybody that is involved with putting out those wildfires in LA.
Tyler nailed it in the chat. Witch Creek was the fire name back in 2007. Little fireside chat right there. But just a note of gratitude to get the show started for what's going on, acknowledgement of what's happening in our Golden State, and the fact that, it's horrifying. It's terrible. My family, decades ago, had our family house burned down, not because of a wildfire situation. It was a car thing lit the garage on fire situation. But, but nonetheless, I do know what it's like to go to the place that you grew up and see it not be there anymore, and see some hollowed out shell of that remain, and then to rebuild that. And it's traumatizing. It is devastating. And also, if you are lucky and fortunate and prepared enough that you have insurance, it's going to get better. You're going to have another place to live, and you're going to have a place to recover. So, anyways, my thoughts are out there for all of y'all. There's plenty to get to from the weekend that was. I guess the number one thing that you start with, right, is the college football championship is set. We'll get into it in a lot greater detail going forward, Braden. But for the first year of the 12-team playoff, and for whatever we could say along the way, all the bye teams losing, some super uncompetitive early round games, you at least got a banger of a game in Notre Dame against Penn State. That was a terrific game, legitimate, top 20 moment.
Probably the best game of the entire tournament so far.
For sure. No, for sure the best game of the tournament. You could go to the overtime game with Arizona State.
But that game wasn't very entertaining for the first 3 quarters.
No, that's right.
It was good for a quarter and a half in the overtime periods.
I completely agree with you. So, yeah, best game of the playoff for sure. And then, Ohio State, Texas, not incredible being a 2-touchdown game, but I think, the thing that we talked about when we were first handicapping this whole thing has come to bear, which is that the team with the highest payroll has made it to the end. Ohio State has the most coveted 5-star, highly paid NIL athletes on their team. They were supposed to be the best team. They wind up as the 8th seed because they lost to Michigan and because they lost to Oregon. But now they have demolished Oregon. They have pretty much demolished everyone in their path. And I wouldn't be too surprised if they demolish Notre Dame a week from tonight.
Yeah, they've played the best out of every team in the college football playoff. They've looked the best during this entire run. They were, at the beginning of the year, picked to be the most talented team, as you mentioned, obviously with a lot of resources at their disposal. And, Texas made it, close in a couple of spots, but, Ohio State was just definitely better than they were. And I could see that being the case. But the whole time for Notre Dame, Notre Dame is kind of eked out every single win so far. So, maybe it's a very difficult task to make Notre Dame an underdog. But here we are. Notre Dame is the underdog on next Monday.
Yeah, well, serious underdog, and I understand why. And also, something they said on that game, I was like, I forget who it was, but someone said, Marcus Freeman has even gotten some people who don't like Notre Dame to be able to root for Notre Dame, like made it okay.
It's okay. It's allowed now
to root for Notre Dame.
I don't like Notre Dame, but I do like Marcus Freeman. But when Notre Dame won on and beat Penn State last Thursday, I was like, great. I'm gonna have to root for Notre Dame now because I could not stand Texas or Ohio State, and Notre Dame is definitely the lesser of two evils in that particular case.
Yeah. So we'll see how I feel come next Monday, because I normally root against Notre Dame every single time.
Are we off next Monday?
Are we?
It's Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Oh,
we might be off. I think we are.
Tell me more good news.
We'll have all day. We'll have all day to get fired up for the national championship. It's gonna be
You've
great.
given me 7 days notice to book a golf time.
That's it. Yeah,
I could actually get there.
Except for the fact that everybody books golf times on MLK Day because most people have the day off.
Yeah. And Boss Adam in the chat makes a great point. Back in the days, I was on the air for the original BCS. The original BCS, it would have been Oregon against Georgia.
I agree. And then it would have been and then you had all these, you just would assume that those were the best teams. That's why I like the playoff. You got to make it through. You got to grind through. Guys get banged up. Guys get hurt. Get in the full. Got to be able to make it through the full playoff. And I still think they have too many days off in between. They could probably limit that. I think at this point, because here's the other thing too, the ratings for these games were not very good in comparison to what they've been. They're playing on a Thursday, Friday because they don't want to compete with the National Football League for playoffs, which I don't blame them. You got to get to a point now. You got to try to move the season around where you're done before the NFL kicks off their playoffs.
I agree with you.
They have to do that. Otherwise, they don't really have a great chance and the other thing, too, I think it's an interesting topic, like what happened. It's not like the games and the matchups weren't bad. They were good matchups. They had perennial teams, blue bloods, team names that you notice for casual fans. And the fact that the ratings weren't very good points me to they played on a Thursday, Friday. It points me to the playoff has dragged out for over a month long with all of these days in between. It just drags out. People lose their attention to these games. And then 3, you got the NFL playoffs coming up in the weekend. People are like, oh, I'm locked in on the NFL playoffs, maybe a little bit more than the college football playoff. National championship on January 20th. Let's push everything back again and let's make the Rose Bowl the national championship every year on January 1st. That would be awesome.
Hey,
all
Commissioner
roads.
Braden's had some great ideas. The bowl games at the beginning. Now we've got the national championship back to a realistic day.
All roads lead to the Rose Bowl, like for college baseball, all roads lead to Omaha. They would never do that because they like making all this money on these gigantic venues. But I think it'd be cool. There is some buzz around that from college football people that to have the Rose Bowl be the national championship every year, perfect weather. And everybody's always tuned into the Rose Bowl. Like that, the ratings for that were the highest out of all of these quarterfinals and semifinal games. Make it the national championship every year.
I appoint you deputy commissioner of the new college football professional league.
I agree.
Once they unionize and we get all settled,
sounds good.
I've got a spot for you in the C-suite, my friend.
I appreciate that. Hopefully it comes with a big raise.
Yes, no, gigantic raise.
Gigantic raise.
Gigantic raise. There are some stipulations. We'll get into it along the way. But yeah, interesting to have the CFP championship come to this, and some interesting notes in the chat as well, right? Ohio State finished 4th in their conference. Well, the conference is how big now? How many teams are in the Big Ten? They didn't finish 4 out of 10.
I think it's 16 or 18.
Yeah, 4 out of 18. It's a little bit different. Though it's a whole new world. We can't compare anything from the past to anything that is right now. It's a whole new world for college football. And
don't start singing the Disney song.
I won't. But at the end, we wound up with this. We wind up with 2 legacy programs from the Midwest, Ohio State, Notre Dame. Seems like they got themselves to a pretty good finish line.
They did. It is kind of BS that Notre Dame doesn't have to play in a conference.
It is. But that's been the case my whole life.
For a monetary standpoint. It's not because they don't want the competition. They're just like,
taking the money.
They're the Dodgers and the Yankees of college football. What do you mean I got to share this NBC deal that I can keep for myself? What do you mean I got to share the winnings with the conference mates? No. This is tradition. It's all about tradition. We've never done this. Or is it the fact that you get a lucrative TV deal with NBC that you don't have to share with anybody, and every round you win in the playoff, you get to keep for yourself, while Ohio State's splitting $15 million 18 ways, Notre Dame gets the $15 million themselves.
Yes, they do.
Is it tradition, Craig, or is it...
It's worked out well for them. It's a tradition.
We've never been in a conference.
It's a tradition
It's about
unlike any other.
tradition.
It's a
No,
tradition
it's not.
unlike every other.
It's about money. Stop it with the tradition nonsense.
It's about they carved out for themselves, and kudos to Notre Dame.
That's right.
They carved out for themselves a place within the college football landscape that became indelible, even though you might wonder from the outside, why is it that this one place in Indiana, all of it has so many more rights than so many other colleges and universities that could even be considered more prestigious? However, they've had it. They've had that NBC deal for how long?
It's a long time.
How long? 30 years? I mean, they've had to have had it for 30 years now.
Yes.
Because I remember screaming about it when Lou Holtz was the coach.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
How is it that these guys get a national deal just for themselves and they get to eat the whole thing and everyone else has to play with a share? Well, 1991, says Adam Paul, who's always our resident historian in the chat. So there you go.
He's a resident
33
Notre Dame
years.
fan, too, so there you go.
Here's how the rest of the show lines up. Plenty of baseball coming up in the 11 a.m. hour. I wasn't here last week to talk about the end of A.J. Preller's no arbitration run. Well, theoretically,
He could still get a deal done before the hearing.
he could.
Technically.
He could. But he does have a hearing scheduled.
Yes.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the latest swirls in the Padres trade market. Is it Roki week or isn't it Roki week? According to his agent, don't expect an announcement on Wednesday. Well, what about Thursday? Friday? Is Friday cool? Are we going to hear? We'll tell you the latest, the latest rumors and rumblings and whisperings all around that. Later in the 11 a.m. hour, Braden's football segment will take on the NFL wildcard weekend. 12 o'clock Sports Fix is back. All the news that's fit to speak coming up at the midpoint of the show. I've got a voluminous local team report. Today is also the first day of San Diego FC full squad training camp at their facility down in Singing Hills. Efforting getting on Chiva from the Two Balls and a Mic podcast, Tony's partner, to come on with a live report from down at SDFC training camp a little bit later in the show. We'll keep you up to date on that information and plenty more. Coming up at 12:40, we're back with Silly Games with Fast Money. We'll come back and give you a chance to qualify for a trip to Vegas and more. We'll wrap up the show with Ask Us Anything. Later this hour, my live report from Lion Tree Arena. Well, not live report. I'm not going to drive down there, but my report from when I was live.
I think you should drive over there and do the
Arena.
report, then drive back.
Hey, I'm here.
Yeah, pick up some lunch on the way back for you.
Well, I mean, there's probably a pretty decent nosh spot somewhere on campus we could set up.
UTC's got some good restaurants over there.
Nonetheless, I will give you a report from what I saw Saturday night at Lion Tree Arena. But next segment, the one day a year that I am thrilled and happy to talk about the Chargers. We can do that. Right? Hey, why don't you guys talk more? Stay tuned. Next segment coming up. Annie and Elsten underway. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Cracks knuckles.
Welcome back, everybody. 10:24 on the Fan. Annie and Elsten. Annie is out for the Salute to Champions dinner tonight. Tonight is the big night, and Braden's got a seat at a table.
I do.
You're going.
I will be going tonight. It's going to be great. Great time.
I love it.
It's in La Jolla tonight. UTC La Jolla. It's at the was at the Hyatt.
Oh, nice.
The one that used to be across from like the Flemings and stuff. That's now like an Orange Theory or something.
Well,
yes, that's
much healthier product emerging from the building now.
That's right.
First it was steak.
The steakhouse, no more.
Now it's just red-blooded Americans getting a lot stronger.
But I was invited by the baseball team, USD's baseball team, so repping their stuff today.
Yeah.
Brock hooked me up with some gear. He was like, "I'm tired of watching you wear all this cathedral gear on air. You
That's
need
fair.
some more USD baseball." I'm like, "Well, you give me the gear, I'll wear it. I'll wear the USD stuff."
You know, I intended to show up today wearing a UCSD hat and shirt, and I didn't get to the merch stand before it closed down.
That was a rough.
Yeah, Triton's up. They literally put this up on the board to tell you how to make a trident.
There's like 3 different schools that use that.
It's pretty wild.
Arizona State,
Yeah,
and then like Tennessee does it.
for vols.
Yeah, it makes it VOL.
Okay,
So
all
vol.
right.
Oh, okay, yeah,
All right.
makes sense.
Yeah,
Triton makes sense.
fair enough. We'll talk some college hoops in our next segment. Right now, we're going to give them exactly as much time as they deserve to chat about the Los Angeles Chargers, who dropped their playoff opener in pretty ugly fashion.
Hilarious fashion.
Yeah, 32-12 final score. Up 6-0 most of the first half. Coughed it up. Really important, I thought, early third quarter sequence where, I'm pretty sure it was early third quarter, where Stroud threw an interception, and then on the very next play, Herbert threw a really bad interception where he scrambled around and then tried to throw all the way across the field.
Yeah, he underthrew Quentin Johnston.
Yeah, into double coverage.
Across the middle lane. He looked like Drew Aller on that.
Yeah, he did look like Drew Allard on that. And immediately turned it around. And let me tell you, Braden, when that play happened, SpongeBob and Patrick were not impressed.
Did you watch the Nickelodeon feed?
Of course I did. Of course I did. I am not going to subject myself to a serious Chargers broadcast. And I flicked on the old, broadcasting stuff into my eyes machine and went, oh, the Chargers are on? And then I went, oh.
It's on Nickelodeon?
Hang on. It's live from Bikini Bottom?
Everything was great. Everything was great till the dirty bubble kidnaps Harbaugh.
The dirty bubble did kidnap Harbaugh.
He kidnapped Harbaugh.
And everything did go to crap from there.
It all went downhill.
You are 100% right. The dirty bubble showed up and enveloped Jim Harbaugh, and then Harbaugh floated off into the distance, and then Herbert threw that pick. And when they went back to the sideline to show Harbaugh consoling Herbert, they put a bunch of dirty gunk on his head.
Oh my God! They must have replaced him with Brandon Staley at that point, where the team went out of control.
Oh.
I look back. I tweeted this out. I just said, however many years it's been now that they've been gone. 10 years ago, that would have ruined my weekend. I would have been so
absolutely
pissed off, and I had to go do the USD St. Mary's game. I would have been so pissed off the entire time of that game. I would have been pissed off. I wouldn't even watch games on Sunday. I would have been just disgruntled today. I mean, think about how drastically different our show would be today.
Oh.
It would just be like phone calls galore.
Oh,
of people.
who should be fired?
Yeah,
who should be this? Who should be that?
And I don't have to worry about any of that. And people always like to say, oh, you Charger haters. I don't find joy in I don't root for them to lose. I don't care anymore. They're just another team to me. But at the same time, it's like, and my dad said it best. He walked in at our house and we had the game on, and he was like, I didn't think I'd care about this game at all. But now that it's happened, this is bleeping great. And it was true. It was so enjoyable to watch. Their last 2 playoff games have been so hilarious to watch because all of the people that want to, talk their ass about being a Charger fan still, and you know what, man, if you stayed with them the whole time, it's fine. It's your prerogative. Stop trying to convert me to your cult of rooting for the Chargers. All right, just do your thing. But all those people, it's every time. I said it on Friday. I said, because, there's people in the chat, and like, oh, Charger hater. I'm like, I'm not a Charger hater, but all I got to tell you right now is it will end badly. It is going to end badly. It will always end badly when it comes to that organization. You can have Harbaugh coach or Vince Lombardi coach, and it ain't going to make a damn bit of difference. It's going to end badly. And you see it from the outside. When you finally step away from your fandom of being a Chargers fan, all those excuses you used to make about players and about the personnel and about the ownership, and you try to find the positive lights, everything, when you take a step back because you're no longer ingrained in the team, you realize that team is never going to win because they do so many things wrong. And it starts from the top. It's just never going to work out for them, and they find different ways to lose. This one, not as hilarious as when they went to Jacksonville and blew a 27-point lead.
No, that was better. That's
even more hilarious.
Slick.
But it was just like, I don't know what they were doing from an on the X's and O's perspective. What did they do? I said it on the show about 15 times on Friday. What wins in the playoffs in all levels of football? Running the football and
defense.
Stopping the run. That's it. That's what wins. Good teams that could do that win. Harbaugh has always been a guy that runs the ball and plays good defense, and they did it all year. And then, for some reason, they just decided, we're going to air it out today. We're just going to air it out today. And it didn't work. And it's just like, what are you doing? You had a great rushing attack the whole time. I guess the writing on the wall was probably the fact that they picked up Ezekiel Elliott off waivers. That probably been like, all right, we don't believe in our running game right now if we have to pick up Zeke. I mean, think about how desperate you have to be to pick up Zeke.
Yeah.
But you're a team that runs the ball. You ran the ball well all year, and then you get to the playoffs, and it's like, we're going to throw it all over the place? I mean, there was like 3 or 4 teams that tried to do that this weekend. Eagles tried to do that.
Yeah.
Give the ball to Saquon. What are you throwing the ball for? Just give him the ball. I feel like a lot of these guys like just they freak out in the playoffs. Like they go to the run, it gets stopped a couple times, and they go, we got to do something. We got to do something else. We got to do something else. But I don't know what they were doing. They don't have any. I mean, they have McConkey. Quentin Johnson had a good sophomore year. Obviously, I'm a little biased because he went to TCU. But when you got like Darius Davis, your number 3 receiver. You can't be throwing the ball all over the place. I mean, I thought the game plan wasn't very good, and they just the 4 picks costly, and then they finally they get the 80-yard bomb to McConkey. You're like, maybe they're back in it, and then the epitome of the game, blocked point after attempt, in which Cameron Dicker thought it was like a forward pass. He tries to bat it down for some odd reason, gets absolutely laced by the Texans, and then they scoop it and take it to the house for 2 points, and then it's like a 3-point swing. So, hilarious loss. Again, all you Charger fans out there, I don't know why you give that ownership your money. I don't know why you support that franchise. You could do what you want, but as I say every single year, despite when they start to play better, everybody starts to come out of the woodwork again and put their San Diego Charger stuff back on and everything like that. It is going to end poorly, and that's what it did on Saturday.
If you know me or you've known me for a length of my lifetime, you've known that the Chargers were my team when I was a little kid. Even growing up in Long Beach, the Chargers were my team. Even when the L.A. Rams and the L.A. Raiders were there, the Chargers were my team. There's probably not a team that I devoted more brain calories to in my early lifetime.
And there's not a team that has replaced them for me in terms of my level of passion as a fan when I was a Chargers fan. Yeah. TCU's close, but it's just not. It's just not the same. It's hard to get that geared up, that football gear up for other sports.
Right. And hey, SDFC is a new team in town that you can pour your heart into, and a lot of people are. It's not the same as the egg-shaped football. It's the round one. But nonetheless, you can. I see someone mentioning that in the chat. But I'm not going to – I don't care about the Chargers enough to care about their game plan. I got 2 things to say, and then we are on to the next segment. The first is that I'm not a big Jim Harbaugh fan. I said that the day he was signed, and I always figured that what you get when you get Jim Harbaugh is you get a really good first year. Sometimes you get a really good second year, too. So, not completely out of the woods here, but it's usually diminishing returns for Jim Harbaugh. So enjoy the 11 regular season wins and the first-round playoff loss because that's what you got.
And his shtick gets old fast.
It wears out, especially on grown men who make millions of dollars. Also, Frank Marchese on Friday said teams with yellow pants aren't serious. You nailed it, Frank. You crushed
0-3. They went 0-3.
0-3. Yellow pants. Don't wear yellow pants.
That's Frank's mom. Shout out to Frank's mom.
Frank's mom's
No
right.
serious man goes to work wearing yellow pants.
That makes complete sense.
You know what? I'm on that now.
Unless you're on the Pro Football Hall of Fame, then I guess it's okay.
It's a yellow jacket.
Yeah.
I don't wear the yellow pants.
Well,
Yellow
fair.
pants. Yellow jacket's different. That's a gold jacket, too. Does gold count?
I asked Brayden.
Are you worried about Notre Dame?
Notre Dame. Notre Dame didn't. What were the color of their pants? He's like,
I
gold.
don't think they're gold.
It's like gold.
I don't
man.
think they have
that's
yellow.
Not yellow. That's
I
gold.
think it's gold.
Gold, Jerry. Gold.
That's different.
So here's the last thing I'm going to say, and it is this: that for those, this is this very specific, very narrow cast right here. Okay, so if you don't apply, then this is not for you. To those folks who stayed Chargers fans from the moment that they argued they were going to leave to the moment they left to today, and have been haranguing fans saying, you should have stayed a Chargers fan. You should have stayed with the team. You should have stayed loyal, even though they weren't loyal to us. Just to you guys, just to you, I know you're waiting for that 1 year where you win it all and you lord it over us. And you say, ha, you missed out. You missed out. You could have had this, and you never will. Well, guess what? Not this year, Spanos. Not today. Today we get to make fun of you again. And then we'll talk about you again, a year from now. Same situation.
Yeah, around the anniversary of them leaving.
Yeah. We'll say, okay,
Not a loss.
you failed again. You failed again. See you later. And that's it for Chargers talk.
And nobody covered them.
No.
It's
A fart in the wind.
That's right. My dad went out and tried to find anywhere that would had any coverage on it that of like people being upset about them. Nobody cares. I mean, like there's not. He tried to find the L.A. Times, or it's like it would just be like a generic article that you would see any other team in, where when they were in town, what would the sports page look like? It would be 18 pages of just
Chargers,
the game.
Just Chargers.
L.A. Times. Hey, they lost. All right, cool. Now we're on to this.
Yeah. What's going on
Rams
with
play
the Lakers?
Monday.
Yeah.
Rams play Monday.
What's going on with a trade for the Lakers? Can we get Jimmy Butler?
That's right.
Let's move along. All right, we're going to move along after this timeout. Final segment of the 10 a.m. hour of Annie and Elsten. I was at my alma mater's biggest sporting event in school history on Saturday. School history. Tell you all about it when we come back. Right here on the number one sports station in San Diego, 97.3 The Fan. Baseball coverage on 97.3 The Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Head to T-Mobile.com and get a great deal on an iPhone 16 Pro. We'll have some baseball coverage coming up for you in our next hour. It's 10:43 right now on Annie and Elsten. Craig Elsten, Braden Soprano here. Annie Heilbrunn out today. Probably out all of tomorrow, too. Wednesday, we will restart the 2025 Annie and Elsten campaign. But Saturday night, Braden, I was thrilled, and I mean this genuinely thrilled to be at a sold-out, remodeled Lion Tree Arena on the UC San Diego campus for what was, I think, indisputably the biggest to date sporting event in that university's history. Hosting UC Irvine, both undefeated in Big West play. For the first time ever, UCSD tournament eligible Division I men's basketball franchise. And it was, as an alum, it felt like a special night to be there and to see how far this program has come. Now, I got to wax nostalgic here for
National
a second.
TV, too.
Yes.
Great.
Because my freshman year at UC San Diego, 1990-1991, I was announcing the men's basketball games in Division III at the old Triton Gym, which is in the old student center area, where we literally would move from the student radio station KSDT, a wooden table with some old-ass radio equipment, and we would lug it across the quad, walk it into the gym, walk it up the bleachers, plunk it down in the bleachers, and do the broadcasts.
Sounds like me and TCU baseball.
Seriously. And believe me, we were doing the baseball games from on top of the dugout, literally sitting on top of the dugout.
I'm going to have that realization in about 3 weeks when the Frogs come to town. I'm doing it for real.
Yeah. So, I was there for a D3 playoff game in 1992 with Tim Rapp and Darvin Jackson and John Spence and Andy Swindle in the starting lineup. I was back there for then. I was there when the program transitioned to Division II, still non-scholarship. I announced their games for multiple years, including on the radio, when they were playing in the CCAA, I believe.
Yes.
Really, and that was for them a really tough league because it was like you got all of these teams, Cal State LA and Cal State East Bay, and all these Cal States that had lower graduation requirements, lower entrance requirements, and they would take all of these bounce-back kids that had bounced out of a D1 program, and they would go down there and kind of rehab their game and move back. It always felt like a losing battle to even win in the CCAA for UC San Diego. And to then see what has happened under Coach Olin, under Coach Allard, walking in the steps that were, founded before them by coaches like Tom Marshall and Greg Lanthier and Chris Carlson, to see that they've taken this team through a 4-year transition to D1, that UCSD has taken their playing space seriously. When I was at UCSD, and for many of those D2 years, Braden, they made it a men's basketball court by dropping a curtain.
I remember that.
At REMAC, they dropped a big curtain, and on the other side of the curtain was another basketball game going on.
Yes.
Between co-eds, and maybe further down there was a volleyball game going on, and maybe further down from there people were running on a track or something. But that's what REMAC, a multi-use facility, was like. And I got to tell you, walking into, and I hadn't been there since they did the refurbishment.
Oh, it is super nice.
Yeah, walking in to see that now it's a real, 4,500 to 5,000 seat arena. That curtain is now a wall that's got trophies on it, that's got history in it. And they've got a Triton's Hall of Fame. I took a picture that Tim Rapp, the guy, the kid that I was calling their games when I was in school, is in the Hall of Fame. Vance Albitz, who was a shortstop on one of the baseball teams that I covered that went to the World Series, he was in the Hall of Fame. I ran into some of those kids from that baseball team, Evan Kehoe and Kyle Saul. Ran into them in the beer line. And we just kind of looked at each other and were like, yep, this is the biggest event. We just, all us alums, we got to come out. We got to come out and be here for this. The student section was insane. There was a line all day, and they came to play. I mean, they straight up came to play. A wall of fans, everyone in yellow. They've got a student set right on top of the visiting bench, like right on top of the visiting bench. It's a beautiful advantage, what they've created. The atmosphere was amazing. They've even got a little luxury suite area.
Yes, up top. By the control room.
That's where the old coaches' offices were. Now it's they've got a luxury suite. I kind of joked to my buddy and fellow alum Ken Garton as we walked in, like, I guess that's where all the NIL is.
That's right.
It's all up there. But it was special to be in there and to feel how far from when I first stepped foot on that campus on a tour visit in 1989 to now 2025, to see what it is, to see what it's become. It is a dream come true. It is a literal dream come true. Now, with all that said, we still haven't been able to recruit anyone big enough to go to UCSD. Maybe for the ultimate games, because it took very little time watching the game. Here's the other thing. We got tickets. I was like at the end of the bleachers, you know? It was legit full. It wasn't pretend full. I've gone to 6 dozen UCSD men's basketball games or more in my life, probably more, and I've never seen anything like that before. So it was truly special. Unfortunately, UCI had a 7-footer, and the Tritons treated him like Dikembe Mutombo. I mean, they really did. They acted like there was a force field like 6 feet around the guy that they wouldn't go anywhere near, and maybe a commitment to a couple more mid-range jumpers from Aniwaniwa Tate Jones might have been helpful. I was shocked how little Tyler McGuy was involved in the offensive game plan, the three-point gunner.
Irvine shut him down
Completely.
They ran a box and one against him.
Yeah.
They don't see that a lot in college basketball.
But you are so right, though, Braden.
Russ Turner pulled out the box and one on the guy.
They decided. They said, McGuy, you're not going to be the guy. And they left open number 8 Howell the entire game. They're just like, you can shoot as many times as you want, but the other players on the team cannot. And, look, kudos to UC Irvine. The Tritons had their chance. They were up 6, midway through the second half. The big guy came back in. He got a little bit more muscly. He got a little bit more assertive. And, the Tritons just didn't have an answer. So, 8-point loss. I do think...
My guy being 1 for 3 from the field is rough.
Insane. I mean, I was like literally just like screaming from like, hey, that screen you ran for that guy, can you run that screen for McGuy? Can we just please do something to get McGuy a shot? Anywhere on the court? Anywhere. But hey, by the way, it would have been a dream come true 20 years ago or even 10 years ago, Braden, just to turn on San Diego sports radio and hear anybody critiquing a UCSD basketball play. Going, why couldn't McGuy get more shots? Or could we get more mid-range jumpers from Tate Jones? Like, just that level of discourse was something that people would have been begging for on campus 10 years ago.
Yeah, and I talked to Eric Olin on Friday, and I brought up Irvine is the class of that conference. They have been there at the top for the last couple of years. They're the team that everybody else is trying to chase down, and it's only been a couple of years now for UCSD. Finally, your first year of being eligible for the postseason, trying to build their way up to where that program is, and that program didn't just happen overnight. I mean, it's been a lot of years now for Russ Turner up there at Irvine to put together the program that he has put together. And they're all battling for the same things and trying to keep kids to stay and not going to big schools. And we mentioned Bryce Pope leaving to go to USC. I mean, Irvine lost a couple of players that were really steadily going to Power 5 schools too. So it's an interesting battle in the Big West. And as Eric Olin mentioned, he's like, we're two of the best programs right now in college basketball for mid-majors, probably both close metric-wise to making the NCAA tournament outright. right? And if they weren't in the same conference, they probably are both in the NCAA tournament. So you got to get through Irvine if you want to make the NCAA tournament for UCSD. Got to play them again up at Irvine, and then the time you got to beat them is in the Big West Championship because that's the only. Well, the one bid leagues, this is all fun for seeding. This is basically just for seeding. You have to win in that weekend in Vegas, or should I say Henderson, is where they play.
Well, and that's the whole thing, right? Like, because everyone was saying, well, this is the biggest event. This is the biggest event, but then.
Biggest event so far.
Biggest event so far. Yeah, it's like the Simpsons meme. This is the worst day ever so far. And I think that game, the Big West Tournament game, will be, the Big West Tournament will be the biggest event in UCSD's sports history. And I will finish the segment by saying what me and Evan and Kyle, the guys that I saw in the beer line, all agreed. If somehow UC San Diego makes the dance and goes to March Madness, I have to go.
You do have to go. That's
I have to go.
I told my dad the same thing when San Diego State made the Final Four. As an Aztec alum, you have to go.
Yeah,
You're never gonna
have to go.
Right. At least making the tournament's different. I think UCSD, once they make one, I think they're going to make a couple more in the future because they keep getting better. But you do, because you want to be there for their first one, right?
Yes.
It's the same thing with TCU making the national championship. Even though they lost, I had to go. When am I ever going to see that again? Right? You never know.
So I hope you don't mind, Adam, if it happens, boss man Adam, because we could make a show out of it. I'm not saying everyone would have to go, but I could report live from.
Well, the best would be
wherever
if
the heck
UCSD and San Diego State go to the same city.
Well, that'd be amazing.
They don't have to be in the same block, right? They could still go to the same city.
They could.
It's very possible.
But whether it was Salt Lake City or Albany, I feel like I'd want to go where they went, just to have that moment of this has been my whole life, Since I was 17, 18 years old, this has been my whole life, watching this team play, and couldn't even imagine being in Division I seemed like an absolute impossibility. So being where they are now, really special. Aztecs lost at the pit. That happens all the time. USD got their doors blown off.
Good. No.
The less said, the better. And that's where we'll leave it. Sorry, USD. Play better next time, please. When we come back, hour number 2 of Andy and Elsten for a Monday, and we turn our attention to our beloved San Diego Padres. How can they figure out a way to get Michael King locked up long term? We'll discuss on the other side. Back with you, 11 o'clock, hour number 2 of the Annie and Elsten program here. Monday, January 13th, 2025. Great to be here. Craig Elsten with Braden Soprenet. No Annie Heilbrunn today. Likely no tomorrow. I know last week she was saying she might be able to check in for the second half of tomorrow's show, but we'll count on her for a full shift starting on Wednesday. Talked some CFP, talked a little Chargers and college hoops, specifically UCSD, in our last segment. We'll transition to some baseball discussion here in hour number 2 of the program before we get to Braden's football segment at the bottom of the hour. Thursday, while I was away, it was arbitration day, and normally that's supposed to be a pretty straightforward story for the Padres. In fact, going into the final guy, Braden, the story was very neat and clean. Padres come to terms with all of their arbitration-eligible players, and in doing so, they beat their projections by like maybe $1.5 million. So they were shaving a little money off of their salary cap number, off of their CBT number. It was going pretty nice.
It was very accurate towards Fangraphs.
Yeah, it was.
A couple
But it was like
a couple
they saved
guys were a little
$100,000 here.
A couple of guys had a little bit more, and a couple of guys had a little bit less.
Yeah, but in the net, they were saving a little bit of money. And it was like, wow, they're going to do it. They're going to come to terms with everybody. They're going to save just a tiny little bit of money along the way. And it's going to be full sales going into the season.
You want a Sasaki update?
You have a Sasaki update?
Yeah, from Susan Slusser. Giants have been told Sasaki's not coming to San Francisco.
Not coming.
And then she goes, per Zach Manassian on the Verlander call, Giants did not meet with Sasaki in person, but they have been told that he's not coming to San Francisco.
So we're starting to see what's the opposite of the roses being handed out.
Yeah, exactly.
We're starting to see teams voted off of Sasaki Island.
Yeah, it's Survivor instead of The Bachelor.
Yes. Torch snuffed, San Francisco.
San Francisco Giants, first team. Eliminated
San Francisco.
from the Sasaki.
Sasaki
Your
has
tribe
spoken.
has spoken. Yes.
Sasaki has spoken.
I would love to see Jeff Probst do this. Just go to break out the news, reads the cards.
Well, you know.
Until you see like the Padres name on there, and then you're like, turn this off. This is terrible. Whose idea was this?
We only want to be at final tribal council where you do want to see your name on the parchment. That's when you want to see him the winner of the Sasaki sweepstakes.
The Sasaki sweepstakes comes down to like a survivor vote, so they all vote each other off, and then they have to pitch to the teams that got eliminated why they should have Sasaki. That would be great. It's like the Padres, the Dodgers, and like the Yankees are left or something like that. They got to pitch to all the teams that got left out.
Bitter Mets juror.
Yeah, he gets the pick. Well, I hate the Yankees, so we're gonna go with the Padres.
Yankees, you are a rat.
You know what?
Dodgers, you are a snake.
I think if that was the case, I think the Padres are the lesser of a couple of evils for a lot of teams out there.
They are. Hey, we got the best weather. That's for sure. Well, you know, you mentioned Roki, so we'll go ahead and start there. We'll drift over to Michael King in the next segment. Wednesday is the first day this can happen, and Wednesday is International Signing Day. There was some interesting reporting.
I got another one for you.
Yeah, you got another one? What's that?
According to Ben Badler.
Ben Badler.
Who writes about prospects for Baseball America.
71,000
followers on Twitter. I have to say this now because we don't know who's verified and who's not. But anyway, according to him, the Mets seem unlikely to sign international free agent Roki Sasaki.
Out! Oh, well, unlikely. There's the bitter Mets juror right there.
There you go, with the Giants guy.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the Giants and the Mets are out.
The two of them are just sitting there in their nice outfit watching.
Well, we didn't like you
from
anyway.
The jury bench.
We have Juan Soto.
Right. Yeah. The Mets can say for a while, hey, did you see we signed Juan Soto? And just kind of leave it at that. By the way, did you see we gave out the biggest contract in the history of the universe?
Did you also see like they had like a payroll breakdown from last year to this year and like who increased their payroll and who decreased their payroll? Mets are like one of the top teams in like decreasing their payroll despite signing Soto. They like slashed like almost $30-50 million.
Well, I think I don't know the exact number. I'm sure Frank Marchese could tell us, but they were paying Verlander and Scherzer a lot of money last year not
like
to pitch.
40 something each.
Yeah, I think so. They were paying them a ton of money not to pitch last year. So they cleared dead money off the board that was huge for them. They probably filled most of the dead money hole with Soto. I mean, not as much as what they paired. So that is interesting. In The Athletic this morning, a little bit of interesting reporting around the international free agent window. Because remember, if you don't remember, I'll tell you, this is how this works. Roki Sasaki is not like Yamamoto, not like Matsui, I'm thinking of, Nomo, players who have been posted by their teams, Daisuke Matsuzaka, and then you're negotiating with the team and the player, and you're going to sign the player to a record major league deal. Sasaki could have waited 2 years and played that card and gotten hundreds of millions of dollars. He came 2 years early. He's going to sign a rookie deal, and he is only going to be given money out of the international player pool, the money that you have to sign usually 16-year-old kids out of the Dominican or out of Venezuela. So the amount you have in your player pool and what you do with it on Wednesday could be a signal of who's really in it for Roki Sasaki or not. Because if you weren't in it on Roki, if you're the Mets, if you're the Giants, if you've been told in any way, listen, nice presentation, thank you so much, Roki appreciated it greatly, we'll be in touch, right? And you're like, oh, we're out. We're not going to get it. Then you want to lock up all the dudes that you can on the 15th. That was the day that Salas got signed, was the 15th. That was the day that DeVries got signed. That was the day that Morejon got signed, was on the 15th. So if the Padres, Braden, aren't locking up a bunch of dudes on the 15th, that shows you they're holding their money. We know who they're holding their money for.
Right. And I could see a couple of teams probably doing that on the same day.
Yes.
And just kind of waiting and then seeing where Sasaki goes and then loading up on all their contracts. I got the official number on the payroll difference. The New York Mets buying Soto, they have shaved $77.9 million off their payroll, which is the most out of any team in Major League Baseball. The Padres, who have not signed anybody, have increased their payroll by 5.7, which is the fourth highest in Major League Baseball.
By having built-in accelerators
yes, all
in
the
their
built-in
contracts. Yeah.
Philly has the biggest payroll increase at $34 million, followed by Baltimore at $30 million, Detroit $9 million, Padres $5 million. Dodgers and Angels both have an increase of a couple $100,000, and everybody out after that has all shredded their payroll by at least $10 million or more. That's kind of fascinating, actually.
Yeah, it is.
Everybody shaved their payroll by $10 million or more.
Everyone not L.A., basically.
And
the Dodgers are reallocating.
And they've only increased their payroll by
deferring.
$317,000.
That's because of
the
money that
insane
came off
thing.
the books.
That's right.
And they're just replacing it with great talent. Here's some of the reporting in The Athletic today specific to the player pool money. This is reported out by Dennis Lin, Andy McCullough, and Will Salmon in The Athletic. Quote, the Padres informed some players who were expected to be part of their upcoming signing class that they were free to seek other deals, league sources said. Okay, that's one of the signals that we said weeks ago when this whole thing began. We said weeks ago, one of the signals is, do the Padres and or the Dodgers or another team tell some of their previous commitments, you're chill, you can try and get a deal somewhere else. Continuing now, back to The Athletic. The Dodgers have told players to consider signing as part of next year's class if the team lands Sasaki and can't acquire enough international bonus pool money via trade to honor their handshake agreements, league sources said. The sources said the Padres have had similar conversations with prospects about potentially waiting until 2026. This has not stopped turnover within LA's signing class. Dominican shortstop prospect Darryl Morel was set to sign with the Dodgers once the signing period opened this week, but he decided Friday to instead sign with the Pirates for around $1.8 million. He was going to get a lot less than that from LA. But there you go. And just wrapping it up, the Padres have $6,261,000 in bonus pool money. The Dodgers have $5,146,200. So it probably doesn't mean anything. Oh, we've got an extra $1 million. They probably wouldn't use the whole thing to sign Sasaki. Ohtani signed for $2.7 million back in the day. It's conceptual that he wouldn't eat up every dollar of the bonus pool. But all of this indicates, Braden, nothing more, but also nothing less than the Padres are acting like a team that's right in the middle of the Roki Sasaki sweepstakes.
Yeah, I think they are. I think that's been the case for a long time, that they're a part of it. We've seen all the reports on it. I mean, most of the reports that we are getting and continue to get is everything that we have already known. But the Padres are pushing hard for Sasaki, and it's the number one priority, and it's going to come down to them and the Dodgers, and maybe these other teams. But aside from Padres and Dodgers, I haven't really heard anybody else that has been relatively that close. Maybe the Giants, they're out now. Maybe the Mets, they're out now. So it might come down. It's going to come down to those two things. So, to me, I mean, what he's weighing is obviously different, but you assume it's, does he want to be on a team where he's going to, at least on paper, be part of one of the best teams on paper, maybe ever assembled, be part of a great rotation, not have the pressure of being the guy, right, and just being around on a team? Is that something important to him? But he's in a big media market, or playing in San Diego, where he could theoretically be a guy, and he could be that pitcher that gets a statue contract and be the face of a franchise, or be part of the focal point of the San Diego Padres and something they build, while also not having to deal with a big media market and some other things. I mean, it's interesting because with everything in college athletics trending towards professional sports and signing big contracts, you have a situation where it's all recruiting for a professional player right now. It's all about recruiting, and we're going to see how good of a recruiter A.J. Preller and company are. If it comes down to money, maybe he ends up being in Los Angeles. Maybe he doesn't want to move after that, and he thinks that's a place he can be for a long period of time. Or maybe he's got a great opportunity here in San Diego. But it's going to be a lot of factors weighed in. And like everybody always goes, are we getting Sasaki or not? My answer is, if he wants to be here, he will be here, because that's all you can really say when it comes down to really a recruiting pitch.
Yeah, I mean, when this came forth and it was announced that he was going to post, I said I think this is one of the most consequential decisions for the Padres of the 2020s. I will stand by that. This is what I mean. If Sasaki does sign here, it's a decade changer for the San Diego Padres. It's as if they, created a number one pick, ace starter, Garrett Cole, Mark Pryor, Roger Clemens, what have you, that you've got an ace that is emerging from your system ready to contribute this year as a rookie. It completely changes the landscape of how the Padres have to attack their starting rotation throughout the 2020s. So if he signs here, it's a decade changer to the positive for the Padres. If he signs somewhere else, it's a real bummer. It's an opportunity lost, because the Padres have been in on this kid for years. And I mean years. 4 or 5 years. They've had their eyes on Roki Sasaki. So if he signs with Toronto or the Yankees, or he shocks everybody, he signs with the Rays or the Cubs,
the Rockies.
Yeah, just like he signs just like in a random American League market or an East Coast market, then look, it's a real bummer. It's an opportunity lost. It's one that got away. You'll think about it for years and years. But that's not the same as if he signs in L.A. If he signs in L.A., it's devastating. It's straight up devastating. It's giving them all those bonus perks that you were about to have. They get to have it instead, and they get to throw it at you for maybe not just 6 years, maybe for 15 years, for all you know. So the Giants being out, that's huge news. The Rockies were never in it. The Diamondbacks, no. So it's us or it's them or it's someone else. Someone else you could live with. Us changes the whole decade. He lands in L.A. I mean, I'm not turning in all my Padres T-shirts, but it's a devastating blow.
I think that's a devastating blow for all of baseball, more than just the Padres. I mean, we focus on it because they're just up the road in the same division, the rivalry and everything like that. But, I mean, just another just insane talented player on the same team. It starts to make the sport just get like What are we watching for here? Just watching for everybody to knock them down? Is that what is that what it is basically? And you can't really do it in the regular season. You just have to wait till the playoffs.
And listen, I'm seeing a little bit of pushback in the chat. Hey, he's not boom or bust. He's one guy. I get it, y'all. You see how many players the Padres have signed this offseason?
It is kind of a boomer bust.
It's Tyler Wade. They signed Tyler Wade. That's
they brought
literally
him back for $900,000.
Tyler Wade. That's what we've done so far this season. The Padres are up against the cap. They're up against the cap next year. They're up against the cap the rest of the decade. They're not going to have the flexibility to go out and buy a Corbin Burns like Arizona did any time in the next several years. They don't have a path to spending like that for the decade where you go, oh, it's just one guy. It is just one guy. For L.A., it's just one guy.
Yes.
For San Francisco, it's just one guy. Arizona, just one guy. Because they're not weighted down with the commitments that we have. For us, it changes the decade. One way or the other, it changes the decade. I don't think I'm being hyperbolic about that. Let's take a timeout. When we come back, how can we make it work with Michael King? Oh, sorry, Nick. Nick in the chat. You forgot Mike Brasso. Don't forget Mike Brasso.
He had a big home run at Petco Park in 2020.
Nick, I want you to help co-bid with me to get Mike Brasso's El Paso's Chihuahuas Star Wars Night jersey this year. I think you and I can go in halves on that, and we could do like an every other weekend sharesy on the jersey.
The pug one they have.
Yeah, and I think that'll be a lot of fun. That'll be a lot of fun. When we come back, can we make it work with Michael King? I think we can, but I think something has to happen. First, I'll tell you what. When we come back, Andy and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Craig Elsten here to tell you about Underdog, the best place to cash in on all your takes during the playoffs and the NBA season and all the sports seasons. And California sports fans, I got great news. Underdog is available to play right here in the Golden State. Play Pick'em. You can do it every day. College basketball, NBA, and of course through the NFL playoffs. And you can win up to 1,000 times your money. All you have to do is choose higher or lower on various players' stats, like in football, yards, touchdowns, interceptions, in basketball, points, rebounds, assists, turnovers. You can tailor it just the way you like. Just yesterday, I was keeping an eye on what was going on in the NBA. I saw that Joel Embiid was down for Philly. Went over to Underdog, said higher on Tyrese Maxey's points, paired it with an Isaiah Hartenstein double-double. Cha-ching. Money in, and as soon as you get money, you can withdraw it straight out of the Underdog app. It really is the best place to play Pick'em. All you have to do is download the app, sign up with promo code Craig, my name, C-R-A-I-G. Deposit now. You can get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code Craig. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. I think Nick in the chat has agreed to go in halves with me on the Mike Brasso Star Wars Night jersey.
El Paso jersey.
Yes. Yes, El Paso jersey. it won't be here. There's a dream that Mike Brasso hits a homer for us this year, but
Into a sea of San Diegans?
into a sea of San Diegans. I'd like that dream maybe to come true. Wouldn't like to take too many cracks at it, though.
You never know. That could be he could be Jerks and Profar. Could you imagine Brasso
If so,
in the All-Star game
yeah.
for the Padres?
If so,
That'd be legit.
you could definitely look back to listen to the skepticism in my voice, and you could do that by using the Odyssey app. The Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed on 97.3 The Fan. So while you're listening, you went, wait, did Craig just offer skepticism that Mike Brasso won't make the All-Star game in 2025? How dare he? You could go back and listen to it again and get yourself even more angry. Just download the free Odyssey app, search 97.3 The Fan, and tap earlier today to get started.
Keep the receipts.
Yes, please do.
It's like Profar last year. It worked out. You know what? Maybe we could just be the guy. Because
Keep the receipts.
what's Brassel's vibes like? Is he a VAR guy?
Right.
Vibes above
He's
replacement?
I don't know what his vibes above replacement are. I do know he was teammates with Roki Sasaki, so Roki will have at least an opinion.
So when the Padres don't sign Sasaki, are they just going to jettison Brasso? All right, you're not needed anymore. We're good.
In related news, the Padres DFA Brasso.
Brasso, we don't need you anymore.
We thought he was our pillow. We thought he was going to be the one that he landed on.
Padres would never do that. The White Sox,
No,
White Sox went and signed Yonder Alonso, hoping that Manny Machado would sign there.
Mike Brasso homers off Blake Snell, and we just all think we won the offseason. Just like, that's it.
That's it. It's over.
That's why they play the games. Cancel the parade. All right, let's go over to the Michael King situation. I certainly was a little bit bummed to hear that the Padres were going to arbitration because I thought it was kind of a cool thing that they had gone 10 years without once going to arbitration on a player. Going to arbitration is usually harmful in the player-club relationship. And you would understand why, because the player shows up to his arbitration hearing with his agent and attorney, and he faces somebody from the team in front of a third party who has to argue, the person from the team has to argue why Michael King doesn't deserve to get the $8+ million, the 8.5 or 8.8, why he has to settle for the 7.3. They're going to make qualitative arguments that are against Michael King, whether it's career innings pitched or durability or projections for 2025. It's negative information that the player hears and ingests about himself from his employer. That can be very difficult. So you understand why you want to avoid those things at all cost. And with that said, Braden, honestly, I'm not surprised that this particular case goes to arbitration because I think Michael King has a unique argument where you really could see both sides of the salary discussion, right?
Absolutely. The way he pitched as a starting pitcher this year, he obviously thinks he should be paid as like a starting pitcher to that extent, and a guy that has done it for a couple of years, even though he hasn't. And from the Padres' perspective, he's still a player that is flipping from the bullpen to a starter. It's not like he had multiple years as a starter, which he would get the money like at Dylan Cease, right? But they're only about $1.4 million off on this deal. If they do end up going to arbitration, I don't know why players get like thick-headed on this sometimes. They want to go. It's just, no, you shouldn't even go. Let your agent handle it. Don't even ask him what they said, and just get your number and let's move on. Like, I don't know why agents don't just. I mean, I know the players employ the agents. The agents, the agents work for the player, and what the player wants is what they're going to have to deal with. But keep them away. I talked to Tony about this. He never had to go through arbitration. He had his arbitration years bought out, and he was like, I would have never. I don't want to go.
Right.
Just but he was like, I knew about it though because my dad told me about it, and that's the case though. It's like the ones that have experience with this know it's like, don't ever go to that. So hopefully, if they end up going to arbitration, Michael King is not there, and the agent doesn't tell Michael King what happened in the meeting. Just here's how much you're getting paid.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Well, you'd like that. More than anything, what you'd really, really like to see is something that's been reported multiple times as being something the Padres want to do, which is to sign Michael King to a contract extension, to lock him up long term. They know they can't do that with Dylan Cease going forward. They just know. They know that Cease is going to go chase a Corbin Burns type contract in next offseason. Max Fried, Corbin Burns. He's going to chase those types of dollars next offseason. Michael King, theoretically, you could get at a lower average annual value. Here's the trick, okay? I'm so sorry that I have to keep going back to the roster resource page to remind you that the Padres are already over the luxury tax threshold based on their obligations for 2025, based on the long-term deals they have already signed. They're already just a little bit, just like $1 million or $2 million, but they're over that number. So now let's just imagine Michael King. You want to sign him to a long-term deal. You want to sign him to a 5-year deal. Now you're going to talk about at least approaching Musgrove money. You're going to talk about real money to lock him up. It's going to be more than $8 million. It's going to be more than $8.8 million. It could be structured in a way that he gets paid a little bit less at the front end to help the payroll, but from an average annual value standpoint, and that's what they use to determine the CBT, the competitive balance tax, that number would put the Padres automatically into the first, approaching the second apron if they sign Michael King to a multi-year contract extension. Same thing for Jackson Merrill. It would be the exact same thing. It would take his number from under $1 million, or I think because of where he finished, maybe $1 million, $2 million, to a much higher figure that would affect their ability to sign other players. So I do believe there's a path to getting a deal for Michael King. But Braden, I think that path involves making a deal somewhere else on the roster, whether it's a Suarez, a Cronenworth, maybe a Cease, finding a way to carve some money out of future obligation that you could then reallocate to Michael King.
Yeah, you have to try to start flipping some of these players for players, right? And equivalents of like, all right, well, we're pretty set here, but maybe we got to be able to flip Cronenworth's contract out so we can give King a little bit more. I mean, there's definitely a game that needs to be played with a lot of these players if you want to try to keep some of these guys long term. But again, look at Michael King, and he is going to be a free agent at the end of the year. I mean, you got to see how he goes through year 2. I mean, he threw the most innings he's ever thrown last year.
Yeah,
and he's got to be able to stay healthy in order to do that, right? So, and it was he did a great job all year. He was phenomenal as a starting pitcher at age 29, but you got to start thinking about where he is at and how he does in year 2 of throwing a lot of innings and putting a lot of tax on the arm. And if he can't make it through a full season, then this year, then you have to think about maybe just let him go at the end of the year instead of signing him. I think you could play the patient approach with King. I think for Dylan Cease, I think you know what you get out of him in general, and whether or not you believe that to be worth what he's going to get in the open market, then you offer him. But those two particular players, you got a little bit of time to think about King. Cease, you already know what you get out of him, and whether or not you want to make a move during the offseason or during the year remain to be seen. But I don't know if they can afford to just let these guys walk at the end of the year and not get anything out of them.
Well, and that's the whole thing. I do think that King is a specific case because I believe you have reached the last club side value point on his timeline. It's the year after his first big year as a starter, but before that second year that you just talked about, Braden, because 100%, if you had 3 years of control, this wouldn't be a discussion.
No.
You'd wait to see how his arm bounced back, whether there was regression in the second year, whether there was injury in the second year. But right now, the Padres could come to terms on an extension with King where they accept the risk of that regression or potential injury in exchange for dollar savings on the overall contract. This is the last time that'll happen. If he goes through another year of 175 innings, 200 strikeouts, top 10 pitcher in baseball, he gone. He gone on a big money deal to a big TV contract team next year. This is the last value point where you could actually lock up King in a market like San Diego. So I'm just going to be really curious, but I don't think you can do it without a Suarez deal or a Cease deal or maybe both or a Cronenworth trade or moving some of those obligations in the teens of millions of dollars in order to carve a little space for something you really need.
And you don't have a lot of those to begin with.
No, you don't. But those are the ones you have to move, and I still think someone's going to move along the way. Let's take a time out. When we come back, always one of my favorite things on a Monday, Braden's football segment is on the way as we react to the NFL wildcard weekend that was. We knocked out the Chargers earlier. We take on the rest of the picture next. It's Andy and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. All right, football fans, listen up. If you need that extra edge for game day, then you need to cash the ticket. Mike Valente and Jim Costa have new episodes of Cash the Ticket every Thursday and Friday, breaking down the biggest matchups, finding the best value on the board every single week. Cash the Ticket is the podcast to help you bet smarter on both pro and college games. Follow Cash the Ticket on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah. You hear the music?
Time to dive in.
It's time for Braden's football segment.
As we overreact to the wild card playoffs and take a look at Dan Graziano's overreactions on ESPN of the weekend, we're going to either buy or sell these, as we had some interesting playoff football, but not the greatest playoff football. In fact, the last game of the weekend was probably the best game. Commanders and the Bucks. All the other games were kind of boring. Chargers game was hilarious, so that's a wash. Ravens really dominated the Steelers. The Bills game wasn't close, even though the Broncos scored on the opening drive. Eagles and Packers was just watching the Eagles survive against a Packers team that had you and I playing receiver for him at that point in time. That was just decimated by injuries. And then the last game, of course, was good. Hopefully tonight's game is pretty good between the Rams and the Vikings. I'm anti-Monday Night Football playoff games, by the way. I think that's ridiculous. I think it's incredibly unfair.
I think it's
It's a
completely
waste.
unfair.
I'd rather have 3-3. Let's just knock it out. Like, why do a Monday game? Let's talk about the Ravens and Steelers first. Baltimore's offense can beat teams a bunch of different ways, and the way it chose Saturday was physical humiliation. Its second touchdown drive of the game covered 85 yards in 13 plays, all of which were runs. At one point, Ravens tight end Mark Andrews received a direct snap and ran for 3 yards. Might have been the most disrespectful drive in NFL postseason history. But this was an out-of-gas Steelers team that was playing over its head when it was in first place a month and a half ago. Baltimore should have been able to beat Pittsburgh with one hand tied behind its back. As a longtime Lamar Jackson fan that Dan Graziano is, he's fired up as anyone about this team's chances to do what the 2023 Ravens couldn't. But Saturday was just a warm-up. Jackson has never won 2 games in a single postseason, and his next one will have a lot more to say about whether this is his Super Bowl season. Buy or sell, the Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl. That's a pretty big overreaction after their game against the Steelers.
Sell?
I'm selling it too.
Sell. Duh, sell.
I don't think they get through I don't think they get through Buffalo. I don't think they get through Kansas City. I think they're the third best team left in the AFC.
Right.
So the fact that they need to get there first means I'm selling.
I mean, come on. If they're going to win the Super Bowl, they could.
They look good, but like Graziano points out, the Steelers were limping into the playoffs.
The
I think that was
Steelers
like their
fell apart.
Fifth straight loss.
Yeah,
they
the
had
Steelers fell apart. They completely deteriorated.
and ran out of gas.
Yeah, basically as soon as Hard Knocks AFC North began, their trajectory went straight downhill. Yeah.
Bills over the Broncos 31-7, the morning game of the first of 3 yesterday. Buffalo was able to win 31-7 as mentioned. Josh Allen might not be as spectacular as he was in past seasons, but he's still more than capable of being spectacular when it's necessary. Case in point, third quarter touchdown pass to running back Ty Johnson. But what's different with Allen after a regular season in which he was far better than ever before at avoiding turnovers and sacks is how totally in command he is of an offense that isn't always Allen-centric. Allen made the evolution the Bills needed him to make this season after they traded Stephon Diggs. The result is an offense Allen totally controls and that can beat you in different ways. The Bills are extremely proud that they tied a record this season for the most players catching touchdown passes with 13, and Allen's poise and calm confidence are obviously at the center of that. Sunday's run-centric, grinded-out game plan was what this game called for, and the Bills stuck with it even when it wasn't yet yielding results. That shows maturity in a lot of ways. It makes Allen and Buffalo seem even scarier than ever. Buy or sell, this is the best version of Josh Allen we've ever seen.
Buy.
I'll buy that.
Yeah, but Josh Allen is, approaching his athletic peak. And he's getting smarter. He's making fewer bad decisions along the way. He's not just relying upon his athleticism the way he did maybe 3 years ago. And I'm really impressed with Josh Allen. And if the Chiefs weren't in the way, I'd say the Bills would go to the Super Bowl.
I think the Bills already beat the Chiefs once.
I know.
They'd have to do it on the road.
They may do it again, but I'm not going to bet against the Chiefs until they lose.
I don't think the Texans have really a chance next week, but we'll see. On to the NFC. Eagles and Packers. Think back to August, Dan Graziano says. There were plenty of people picking the Packers over the Lions to win the NFC North, and even those of us who weren't doing so admitted it was probably close. Instead, the Packers went a combined 0-4 against the Lions and Vikings, finished third in their division behind both of them, and went out without a whimper in the wild card round against the Eagles. Sure, 6 of their 7 losses were to teams that won at least 14 games and are still playing, but Love was supposed to elevate to MVP level this season, and he very much did not. He had what he needed around him. The Packers' defense was the best it has been in years. The offensive line was excellent. Running back Josh Jacobs at cost was at least as good a signing for Green Bay as Saquon Barkley was for the Eagles. Sure, things might have gone differently in this one if receiver Christian Watson had been there. If Romeo Doubs and or Jaden Reed could have finished the game, but Doubs and Reed were healthy in the first half when Love threw 2 interceptions while the Eagles were begging Green Bay to take the game from then. In the end, this is a letdown season for the Packers, who must now regroup and figure out how to restore Love's upward trajectory in 2025. Buy or sell, this season was a disappointment for Jordan Love and the Packers. They went 11-6. They made the playoffs, lost the Eagles by 12 last night.
Sell. Know who you are. Be self-aware as a franchise. The Packers aren't at the level yet of the top teams in the NFC. Doesn't mean they can't get there, but they aren't there yet. They were really good against teams worse than them, and they weren't able to beat the teams that were better than them. So it's a pretty straightforward trajectory for Green Bay right now. They shouldn't be disappointed at all. They should be building for the next year, and I think they will.
I think it's a little disappointing for Jordan Love. He did miss time with an injury though, so I guess that is a disappointment, not really his fault. I don't necessarily know it's a disappointing season for the Packers. I mean, the Packers went 11-6. They played in the toughest division on paper, at least with records, in the National Football League this year. I mean, 2 teams in the division went 14-3. They went 0-4 against those 2 teams. They probably win they probably win every other division if they played in a different division.
Sure.
Just how it stacked up. So,
right.
Disappointing season for Love. I'd say so, especially after how good he played last year. Disappointing season for the Packers. We'll probably sell that.
Yeah.
Night game. This was a fun one. Commanders and the Bucks.
Doink.
The bank. Bank was open on a Sunday.
I thought that was impossible.
Banked it in. Zane Gonzalez with the doink walk-off gives the Commanders a 23-20 victory over the Buccaneers. Commanders did not wear yellow pants last night.
Which is important because if you wear yellow pants, you're not serious if you go to work.
Important to some. They went 0-3 this weekend.
What
the
about
Yellow
the
Panthers.
Savannah Bananas?
Yeah, we're talking football here. I don't know.
That's true. They're
Savannah
not
Banana,
serious
but
any day
they're
they
the
go to work.
Globetrotters, though.
Yeah,
they're
not serious
supposed
any
to
day.
win.
That's fair.
Rams wearing yellow pants tonight?
Better not be.
Vikings to debut their brand new yellow pants.
That would be amazing.
Take the biggest L in franchise history. Lose by 50. We should probably burn those.
I mean, they could. It's in their color scheme. They completely could. Go all yellow tonight in Minnesota.
It has more to do with the Lions, this overreaction, than really the Commanders, but it's because of the Commanders' play from their quarterback, Jaden Daniels.
He was great.
He was great. Coming off a bye, Lions have a strong chance to hang 40 points on this Washington defense without much trouble, but could Jaden Daniels, receiver Terry McLaurin, and the rest of his Commanders' offense make it a shootout? It's quite possible. Detroit defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn came up with a pressure plan in Week 18 that produced the worst game of Vikings quarterback Sam Darnold's season, but pressuring Daniels is a different type of ask, and Daniels' fluid running ability isn't something Detroit sees every week from opposing quarterbacks. Daniels was blitzed on 15 of his 40 dropbacks Sunday per ESPN research, but he still went 10 for 15 and averaged 9.5 yards per attempt on said blitzes. Lions are getting healthier on defense, but they're still missing Aiden Hutchinson and several key players, and Daniels has proven he's not likely to be rattled by the significance of the game or the raucous Detroit crowd. Sunday night marked the 3rd game this season in which Washington did not punt. The only other team with 3 such games this season, could you guess? The Detroit Lions. I don't think the Lions have to be overly worried about losing to the Commanders, but don't think Washington's defense has what it takes to slow down the Detroit offense either. But that being said, buy or sell, Lions' banged-up defense is in trouble next week against the Commanders' Jaden Daniels.
Buy or sell, hashtag our beloved Lions defense is just fine. I'll be selling that right on down the road. And I don't think Washington will get to 24 points. How about that?
I'll buy it.
How
I think
about
that they're in trouble to do with Daniels. Are they in trouble to lose to the Commanders? No.
No.
I mean, they'll just, if they get into a shootout, that's definitely going to be won by Detroit because they have way more weapons on
Remember,
offense.
the Lions have had this week to get healthier. They're going to get some guys back. I know it's not Hutchinson yet, but they're going to get. There's going to be not only guys that return, but there's going to be guys who have been playing banged up that are a lot fresher next week. I love our beloved Lions' path to the Super Bowl, and I heartily endorse it.
I think the Lions win. But Jaden Daniels looked pretty good last night. He's looked pretty good all season.
He's really good.
And with the amount of injuries, they do have a lot of season-ending injuries on that defense for Detroit. It's going to be a tough task, but they're just built. They're built different right now.
Yes.
They're
Say
just
it.
built different right
Say
now.
it with your chest.
But yes, they are. I would say they're in trouble when it comes to Jaden Daniels. Are they in trouble for the victory? No. So I'm kind of half buying, half selling that. Game tonight
Yes, indeed.
in Arizona.
In Arizona. What a
Rams and Vikings. Vikings favored by 2.5. 2 in the hook. 5 o'clock on ESPN and ABC.
Whose house? Card's house.
They put they rolled the field in. They had the Rams
I know.
stuff all over it.
They
but
brought in the PA guy too. So
They brought the PA guy over.
Yeah, he'll
too.
be yelling "Whose house? Rams house" tonight, but it's actually the Cardinals' house, so it's kind of funny.
It is funny. Well, there's still going to be red all over the place. They can't fix that problem. But the Rams are like, oh, it's so nice of you, Cardinals, to not be playing at this time of the year that we can use their stadium.
Straight up, I think the Rams would have won this game at home. I think that the relocation is going to be the end of them, and I think the Vikings are going to eke out a victory today.
I can see that. Because the relocation is like, it affects the Rams way more than it affects the Vikings. The Vikings already knew they're jumping on a plane.
Yeah, helps the Vikings.
They just need to know where they're flying to.
Right. They face less of a home field advantage. They are literally not in the other team's house. For them, it's nothing. It's just a road game. For the Rams, it's a road game for them in the playoffs. It's crazy. So, and I get it. Right? SoFi's always half filled with the other team, and the Vikings do travel well. I'm sure they would have had a Skol chant at SoFi Stadium tonight. Either way, but I actually think in a game like that, you say 2 and a hook. For Minnesota, what does home field advantage get you? Gets you 3 points. It would have been a pick'em game the other way, or the Rams as a baby favorite. And instead, the Vikings are a baby favorite. I like them to win by 3. I like them to win by about 3 points.
There's a lot of snowbirds that live in Arizona. I remember when I went to U of A, like the flight from Chicago landing when we were leaving for Christmas break was packed with a bunch of people that lived there during the wintertime. And I think it's the same case for the Minneapolis residents. It might be more of a home field advantage now.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
Got more Sasaki news for you.
Yes, I saw this. No Sasaki for the Yankees.
That is correct. Jack
No
Curry
Sasaki.
of the Yes Network, Andy Martino of SNY, both announcing that. Is he from SNY? Yeah, he is. Okay, that's what I thought. Yankees have been told Sasaki will not be signing with them. So Mets and Yankees are both out.
Furthermore, the same trio I was quoting from earlier in the hour when we talked Sasaki, Dennis Lin, Will Sam, and Ken Rosenthal, put up a new post 15 minutes ago, which reports something, Braden, that I had heard off the air over the weekend, but did not feel comfortable saying because I had not seen it reported officially. But I had heard, and now they are reporting in The Athletic, that Sasaki was here in San Diego over the weekend, meeting with the Padres, that Sasaki was here. There was
That was in The Athletic?
Yes. It's in the first paragraph of the newest Roki Sasaki, in fact, the title is Roki Sasaki Visits with Padres in San Diego, quote, sources. As Roki Sasaki nears a decision that could have major ripple effects across baseball, the coveted Japanese right-hander has continued touring potential destinations. Padres officials hosted Sasaki in San Diego over the weekend after the pitcher visited the Blue Jays last week in Toronto. Sources briefed on the meetings told The Athletic. Sasaki can sign as early as Wednesday.
I don't think he goes to Toronto.
No, Toronto appears to be the very unfortunate team that everyone leverages against.
Yes, but nobody actually wants to sign there.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you know what? You seem like you've got a really cool franchise that could finish in second place in this running.
They're the bridesmaid of Major League Baseball.
They really are. They've been trying to throw their money at so many guys. Well, they got a reliever. We'll talk about it in the Sports Fix. But, hey, doesn't mean he's locked in, but it does mean we didn't get the Black Rose today. The Yankees and the Mets got the Black Rose today. The Giants got the Black Rose. We did not. So the Padres have advanced in this game of The Bachelor Japan. They have advanced to the next round. What happens after this? Hey, the week shall play out. Once we get to the 15th, he's still got to the 23rd to make his call. So it could last into the following week, but we'll find out. Things are happening. That's more news, honestly, than I thought we'd ever get.
It's moving faster
Sasaki.
with the teams that are out that I was expecting today.
Yeah, let's just not get on that list. We're back with all the sports news. 12 o'clock Sports Fix is next on The Fan. 12 o'clock in America's finest city. It is Monday, January 13th, and as you rip that little plastic thing off of your salad and get ready to dig that spork in, we've got your lunch hour covered here on Annie and Elsten with the 12 o'clock Sports Fix. Welcome back, everybody. Annie Halbron off today. Craig Elsten here with Braden Soprano, ready to give you all the sports news that's fit to speak from the weekend that was, and we do begin with Big League Baseball. This is normally Annie's spot, but will be Craig's spot here for today. The Toronto Blue Jays finally found someone to take their money. They signed reliever Jeff Hoffman to a 3-year, $33 million free agent deal over the weekend. Hoffman made the All-Star team for the Phillies last year, pitched to a 2.17 ERA, struck out 89 in 67 innings. There are reports out there that Baltimore had agreed to a 3-year, $40 million deal with Hoffman, and then he failed a physical in Baltimore. The Orioles did pivot. They signed reliever Andrew Kittredge to a 1-year, $10 million deal after the Hoffman deal was announced. Kittredge, pretty good for St. Louis last year, a 2.7 ERA in 70 innings. Not all free agent pitching costs an arm and a leg in 2025. The Chicago Cubs agreed on a 1-year deal with former Padre Colin Ray, who pitched almost 300 innings the last 2 seasons for the Milwaukee Brewers, ERA a little bit over 4. He gets $4.25 million plus a guaranteed $750,000 buyout on a $6 million option for next season. In New York, they are saying, no Sasaki for you. They did not order properly in the line. The Mets and Yankees have reportedly been told they are out for Roki Sasaki. So have the San Francisco Giants. No Black Rose delivered in San Diego, where The Athletic reported last half hour that Sasaki was here, walking around in person, theoretically with toes in the sand. I mean, if I visited San Diego, I'd want to at least touch the Pacific Ocean for a moment. Wouldn't you?
I mean, they got the Pacific Ocean in Japan, too.
They do, but it's the whole other side of it.
It's the other side of the Pacific Ocean?
Yeah, you'd want to, want to get your feet in there. So I'm just imagining Sasaki walking the beach. No actual reporting that he actually walked on any beach or which beach it was or whether his toes found their way into the Pacific Ocean.
So when you go to Japan, you want to...
Yes.
See what that side of the water feels like? See if it's the same?
Hey, when I went to Australia, you know what I did? I put my feet in the Indian Ocean for the first time in my life.
You're on the west side of...
I was.
Wow.
I was. It was exciting. It was a feel.
That's what the Indian Ocean feels
Still
like.
felt like water. I mean, it still felt about the same.
Is it warmer or colder?
It was around there. It was right there.
All right.
And I closed the baseball report with the best baseball news of the day. For sure. Remember those 2 idiots who grabbed Mookie Betts during the World Series Game 4 at Yankee Stadium?
Bunch of tough guys.
And you remember them? They were met at the bar later. They found him in the bar. Like, hey,
They're at Billy's.
We D up around here. Hey. Well, guess what? They're never going to a baseball game again in their life. MLB sent a letter to Austin Capobianco and John Hansen, found their P.O. boxes last week, and banned them from all MLB stadia, offices, or facilities, as well as any MLB-sponsored event. They couldn't even go to FanFest if they wanted to.
Good.
These are the 2 who grabbed Mookie's arm and glove as he tried to make a leaping catch against the railing in Game 4 of the World Series, raked the ball out, had their hands on Mookie as he was falling, could have broken his arm. They gone. So am I with baseball. Here is Braden with the NFL.
Got some NFL and some high school basketball news. We already went through the college basketball state, so I won't bore you on that. News in Arlington, Texas, or really Frisco, where the Star is. Mike McCarthy will not return as the Cowboys head coach in 2025.
Didn't they just deny his chance to interview in Chicago?
They did, but he's a free agent coach anyway. So
That's just weird.
You just wait.
Yeah.
The Bears could wait if they really want to talk to McCarthy. Source told ESPN's Adam Schefter on Monday McCarthy's contract with the Cowboys expired last Wednesday, but the team held an exclusive negotiating window with the coach until Tuesday at midnight. However, the sides have not had any negotiations regarding a new deal, sources told Schefter on Monday. Chicago Bears and New Orleans Saints are expected to be interested in speaking with him regarding their vacancies, sources told Schefter. Last week, the Bears had an official request for permission to speak with McCarthy. denied by the Cowboys. Coming off a disappointing 7-10 finish in 2024, Jerry Jones will look to make the 9th head coaching hire of his tenure as owner and general manager. McCarthy had a record of 49-35 in his 5 seasons as coach, but he won just 1 playoff game while suffering devastating home losses in the wild card round to the Niners in 2021 and to the Green Bay Packers in 2023. Jones had McCarthy and his entire coaching staff work on the last year of their deals after posting 3 straight 12-5 marks and leading the team to the playoffs in 3 straight seasons for the first time since the 1990s. McCarthy is out. They're looking for a new coach down in Dallas. Eagles' Nakobe Dean out for the rest of the playoffs. He tore his patellar tendon in his left knee during Sunday's wildcard playoff win over the Packers and will miss the remainder of the playoffs, the league source confirmed. Dean was injured in the second quarter after wrangling tight end Tucker Kraft to the ground for a 3-yard loss on a screenplay. After being assisted off the field to the medical tent, Dean was carted inside, offering gestures of encouragement to the fan base on his way to the tunnel. NFL Network was first to report the seriousness of Dean's injury. He will be out for the season. Had some betting news for you in the Saquon Barkley slide down late in the game. Saquon Barkley looked to be off to the races, headed for a last-minute touchdown that would have had no impact on the outcome of the Eagles' 22-10 win over the Packers on Sunday, but would have cashed a lot of tickets for the betting public. More bets were placed on Barkley to score a touchdown against the Packers than were placed on any other player in Sunday's 3 NFL playoff games at multiple sports books. Barkley to score a touchdown was the 3rd most popular leg of all NFL parlays Sunday at ESPN Bet, and he appeared destined for the end zone after breaking free on the Eagles' final drive, with Philadelphia leading 22-10 with 1:09 to play.
And then
Barkley took a handoff over the left tackle, burst to the Packers defense, and into the clear before electing to slide after picking up the first down. Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts took a knee on the last play to run the final seconds and secure the win. Barkley said after the game that it wasn't tempting to try for a touchdown. It's first down, you win the game, so it's get the first down and get down, he said. Don't matter. Barkley, who is a minus 190 favorite to score a touchdown at ESPN Bet, finished with 119 yards rushing and no touchdowns.
I mean, can we really? I understand the concept, but can we truly construct an argument whereby going up by 19 in the final minute is a bad idea?
If it was a one possession game, sure, get down, I guess.
I
just
guess.
in case, but or less than a one possession game.
Yes, absolutely. Then get down.
Bad things can happen, but
you're up 12.
You're up 12 points, dude. Just score. Who cares?
You have to announce onside kicks now.
I know.
You literally can't do more than 2.5.
Unless he gets hurt running.
So, just explain to right. Yeah, you're just gonna pop a hammy on the final yard.
Even if it gets the ball stripped and they return it all the way back to the house, they're still down a possession and they got to kick off.
I don't know.
I don't get it.
I mean, okay, fine.
Most of his teammates after said he should have scored.
Yeah, just score.
So.
And for everybody that was supporting him on Underdog or any other platform.
Oh yeah,
my heart goes out to you. I was not.
They're not
on that
Saquon
game.
Barkley fans anymore.
Yeah, I was not on that game.
Last bit of news for you in the NFL. Mike Vrabel has returned to the Patriots, who hired the former longtime player to become their new head coach. Patriots did not disclose terms, but sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter that Vrabel and New England agreed to a multi-year contract. Team confirmed the hiring Sunday morning, announcing Vrabel as the 16th head coach in franchise history. Vrabel played linebacker for the Patriots 2001 to 2008, was an integral member of 3 Super Bowl championship teams. He served as Tennessee Titans coach from 2018 to 2023, posting a 54-45 regular season record and a 2-3 mark in the playoffs, which included a trip to the AFC Championship game in 2019. Vrabel, the Associated Press NFL Coach of the Year in 2021, replaces Jared Mayo, who was fired January 5th after posting a 4-13 record in his 1 season as Patriots coach. Patriots will formally introduce Vrabel during a noon Eastern news conference Monday at Gillette Stadium. So they've already obviously done that. And that's that for the NFL. In terms of high school basketball, top 10 is out again for this week. Not too much last week in terms of major games. Most of that happened during the holidays. Starting to get into league play now in high school basketball. Montgomery gets 18 first-place votes, a unanimous decision to be number 1 in the county at 17-1. Carlsbad follows at 13-2. San Marcos, Mission Bay, Cathedral Catholic at 5, Torrey Pines 6, Santa Fe Christian 7, Olympian, La Jolla Country Day, and Mission Hills round up the top 10 in boys high school high school basketball top 10. Others receiving votes: Francis Parker, Mira Mesa, San Diego, and St. Augustine had a big win against Santa Fe Christian last week. Friday night at the Claver Center on the beautiful campus of Cathedral Catholic High School, we'll have Saints and Cathedral playing basketball at 8 o'clock. I will be on the call for that one on Friday night. So there you go.
Beautiful.
Some high school basketball for you. On to Craig for the rest of the local sports.
And boy, do I have a lot to share with you. Let's get it started. The players have arrived. Full squad practice is underway now at the San Diego FC training facility. Players were welcomed to their new living quarters by SDFC supporters yesterday. It's all underway today in advance of preseason matches in Coachella Valley early in February, and the season opener February 23rd at LA Galaxy, home opener March 1st against St. Louis City FC. We will have a live report from training camp from San Diego Punto Football's Alejandro Chiva Villaseñor coming up at 1 o'clock here on Annie and Elsten. So SDFC fans or potential SDFC fans, stay tuned. In an hour from now, we'll get you an update from day 1 of SDFC training camp. The club did announce this morning a new acquisition, midfielder Oni Valakari. He has been acquired via loan from Cypriot side Paphos FC through the 2025 season with a club option for next year as well. Valakari will occupy a 2025 international roster slot. That is not the same as a designated player. That's one of the regular slots. You only get a certain number of internationals on your team. He's one of them. He will be added to the roster upon receipt of his P1 visa. Valakari is 25 years old, 46 goals in 159 appearances for Paphos. Meanwhile, multiple reports over the weekend indicate that San Diego Wave FC is about to trade forward Jaden Shaw to the North Carolina Courage in exchange for a large sum of allocation money thought to perhaps be the biggest in NWSL history. It hasn't happened yet, although according to some reports, the deal has been agreed upon. Shaw has apparently been asking for a trade for a full year now, and the 20-year-old will be on the move before the Wave begin their 2025 campaign. On to our local arena teams now. Good times rolling for the San Diego Sockers, who won their 5th in a row on Friday night. They took down the Tacoma Stars in Washington 9-5. Defender Drew Ruggles had his first 3 goals of the season. Sockers take on a tough Kansas City team, one of the favorites to win the championship, here Wednesday night at Front Wave Arena, a 7:35 start time. San Diego Seals are now 3-3 on the season after an 11-9 road loss to Vancouver. Seals are 0-2 on the road this year. They play in Las Vegas this weekend. San Diego Gulls split a pair against the Tucson Roadrunners at home this weekend. They won 3-2. They lost 4-2. The Gulls host Iowa Wednesday night at Pechanga Arena. And the San Diego Mojo are back, and they've got their first win of the season. They picked up a 3-1 win in Columbus, Ohio over the Columbus Fury this weekend. Now 1-1 on the young year. The Mojo are back at Viejas Arena for their home opener Thursday night when they take on Orlando. And I'll tell you, Braden, if I didn't have a Sockers match on Wednesday and Friday night up in Oceanside, I would 100% be at the Mojo match on Thursday. I might go to the second home match instead of the first one, but it's a great time, and I recommend everyone turn out to see the Mighty Mojo. Remember, they played for the championship last year.
They did.
They were...
Volleyball's fun to watch.
Yeah, women's volleyball is super, super fun to watch. And at the pro level, you see it at kind of an Olympic level. It's as good as it gets. Okay, quickly to the NBA and the NHL. Just a quick spin through on this one. The Lakers and the Clippers will be back in action in Los Angeles tonight. They had games postponed over the weekend, of course, due to the horrific wildfires. Tonight, the Clippers will play host to Miami. The Spurs will play host to the Lakers. That's 2 of the 6 games on the slate of the NBA tonight. Golden State, Toronto, Detroit, New York, Minnesota, Washington, and Memphis, Houston round out what's going on. In the NHL, Detroit won their 7th in a row. They beat Seattle 6-2. The Golden Knights of Las Vegas have a share of the NHL points lead after they beat the Wild 4-1. And the Ducks got a nice 3-2 win in overtime against the Carolina Hurricanes. Cutter Gauthier, a former Hurricane, scored twice tonight. The LA Kings are in Edmonton, Calgary at Chicago, Florida at Philadelphia. And that's it for the fix.
One last thing.
Oh, that's not it for the fix.
I just saw this just happened recently, but congratulations to Cathedral Catholic's May Cordes, who has been named California's Gatorade Player of the Year.
All right.
In volleyball. California's Gatorade Player of the Year. Very impressive feat. Dominant middle hitter and Yale commit. Has been a powerhouse on and off the court, showcasing incredible athleticism, leadership, and dedication to excellence. Prestigious honor recognizes not only her amazing talent, but also her academic achievements and character. Congratulations to May from the Cathedral Catholic family. So Gatorade, National Gatorade Player of the Year, or California Gatorade Player of the Year. Very impressive award that is handed out for every state. So congrats.
It's pretty dang awesome. And there you go, your 12 o'clock sports fix for Monday, January 13th, 2025. Braden and I are right back with some more thoughts on the college football championship when we come back. And we play fast money later in the hour. I know the silly games got derailed last week.
We played Anybody Knows.
Did play Anybody Knows.
We did
Nothing
play
on
Anybody
Friday.
Knows. Nothing on Friday.
Nothing on Friday. So we're going to get back on the beam. We're going to play some fast money a little
We
bit
also
later
have
in the
tickets
hour.
to give away.
You know what? Let's just do that right now.
It's a good idea.
Let's knock it out now. We always screw up, and then we wind up playing it too late in the game. So let's do this right now. San Diego State men's basketball hosting Colorado State at Viejas Arena. That is tomorrow night. It's a big game. Obviously, Aztecs need to win on home court and get things back on the beam after dropping one at the pit over the weekend to New Mexico. It's going to be a tough ticket. You can try and find one at goaztecs.com, or you could be the number 4 caller right now. Be the 4th caller at 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Be caller number 4, and you'll score a pair of tickets right here from Annie and Elsten on San Diego's number 1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. And it's a great point. Why don't we have a golf club in here? You don't think that every show wouldn't use it?
Well, I'm a lefty, so
Except for you?
yeah, I screw things up a little bit. But
Or, if nothing else, a putter?
I'm surprised
3
the
golf
putter's
balls
not
and
in
a cup.
here.
Like, there should be a putter, 3 golf balls, and a cup.
With the amount all you guys play, the amount of golf you guys all play
Yes.
between you
Yes.
and the morning show and Scraby, and even Chris. Didn't Ella play golf a little bit for
He does.
for the show?
I've never gotten the opportunity to golf with either Chris or Scrabes. I would look forward to that at some point. Obviously, it's very difficult. We would
January-
have to come up with a weekend.
January 20th.
I mean, theoretically, we could on Monday. We could make it a whole station, let's go golfing thing. We could get Foster involved. We could get NC Ranch
There you go.
to line us up. Foster, if you're listening, think about it. We'd like to do this.
Craig saw that the tee times are booked everywhere in the county already.
Like, hey, Foster, how about next Monday?
That's
how about we who's going to be our 4th? I mean, Woodsy already said he doesn't want to play with me, so I mean, maybe he could reconsider.
It's gonna screw up my softball swing, but
It would screw up your softball swing.
it actually doesn't.
I'd
'cause
love to
my-
go out golfing with you, Braden.
My
even
swings are
so.
different.
Even so, I'd love to go golfing with you and Scrabes and Chris.
That's why I loved when
See what's
like
what?
Mission Bay had the night. Do they have the lights back or no? Do we know about that?
I have not been to Mission Bay, and I don't want to disparage. I went to Mission Bay a lot in my first year and a half when I was trying to figure out how to play golf. I'm still bad, but one time I got my wallet robbed,
Oh no!
and it's my fault. I forgot to lock the car when I was going away.
Well,
but,
yeah,
but I got my wallet robbed.
I like
there,
going
and I
there
haven't
because
gone back.
I can play at night. That's
It-
the only.
yes.
Just for when you have a show
It's a
from
great
10 to
place.
2, it's impossible to golf
Yeah,
unless you make it like on your weekends. But
your wallet can get robbed anywhere. By the way,
yeah, it's true.
It's not Mission Bay's fault.
But it's the place, and especially in the summertime, because you could like tee off at like 5 o'clock,
Yes.
6 o'clock, and it's like it's great. First 9 are got some daylight, back 9 under the lights. But
Well, now you're going to make me tell a golf story from yesterday. And
what'd you play yesterday?
I did. I played. My buddy Chris was in town. Shout out Chris. I think he's still in town. He lives in D.C. now. Chris Dankberg, great guy. We love to get together and golf when he's in town. And yesterday, like everything was booked. I mean, of course, right? But when I was looking earlier in the week, everything was booked. And so I went back to kind of my old stomping grounds where I started version 2.0 of me trying to play golf, which is the beautifully handled Pro Kids Place, Kalina Park, down by the college, off of 52nd. It's a lovely, tiny pitch and putt course that's immaculately groomed. It's in incredible shape. It's extremely affordable, and you can usually play there. Usually have open slots. You can usually play there for about $25 on the weekend, and you can walk it in about 2 hours. And so me and my buddy Chris went there and played yesterday, just like Blue Meanie in the chat. That's where I started playing, was at Kalina. And it's a new and unique challenge when you come back because every shot is like a half shot. Every shot is a little pitch, like a little 35, 40-yard pitch. Every once in a while, you can get up to like 100 yards. 100 yards is like the furthest you could possibly drive the ball at Kalina Park. And every single hole is lined up kind of right next to each other. They're all kind of wedged into this city block area. So, you got to be careful. But it's for kids. It's for kids. It's designed for kids. And yesterday, Chris and I went out, and for the first 9 holes, we played with a lovely couple that was teaching their 5-year-old daughter how to play golf. And, I mean, it was really touching. The dad was like a big-time coach.
Oh, really?
Like a big-time coach. Like he had props, he had
Goes dialed
this,
in.
he was completely dialed in. And I'm not going to lie, it ruined my game for a solid 9 holes. Because Coach was coaching nonstop.
Oh, no.
Nonstop. He was coaching up that 5-year-old like she was 15. I mean, seriously.
She was probably only processing like half of it.
Maybe
if
a
that, third.
tenth of it. Maybe a tenth of it. And he was also coaching up his wife, who was there playing as well. He was only there carrying the bag. He was a caddy. He was the chattiest caddy in history. So for 9 holes, it was like we were just kind of there next to the lesson as opposed to golfing.
Right.
We were kind of attendant at the lesson.
Not enjoying your round as much.
And no, it was, nothing against. They were doing their thing, but it was slowing things down. The group behind us literally asked, like, hey, can we go in front of you? And the guy was like, we're leaving after 9, so no. And I hit nothing but terrible shots the whole time because I felt viewed. You know what I mean? It's like he's coaching everyone else's swing, and then I know he's looking at me when I'm swinging too.
Yeah. He's going like, this guy really sucks.
And he would have been right. I mean, I honestly, it was a regression yesterday.
Man.
Played better on the back 9. Not surprising once I was released of that, but I'm still very mentally soft out there on the course. I'm Charmin out there. That might as well be my nickname. Just touch me, I'll fall apart.
On the golf course.
Yeah. So, but it was a little bit much. It was just a little bit much. Shout out to them, but yeah, I hope that young woman, she's either going to become a professional golfer or she will be done with golf by the time she's 8.
Or she'll hate it forever.
She'll be done with it by the time she's 7 or 8. She'll be like, no.
No more golf.
No. So,
I couldn't tell you the last time I played golf.
Well, it's going to be next Monday.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly.
Manifest this. Foster, are you listening?
That's right. A little golf and then national football, or not the national championship, college football.
I said we'd talk about it very briefly here. We mentioned it a little bit earlier in the show as well. I think we're down to a great championship. My question is, can Notre Dame score on Ohio State? I have kind of a feeling they can't. I think Riley Leonard up the middle is going to run out of juice in the national championship game. I couldn't believe the number of times it's just run the quarterback up the middle that it wound up working. It felt like I was watching Navy sometimes instead of Notre Dame. Good team, really good team. They've gone all the way. Congratulations to the Golden Domers. If they win the title, they win the title. It's going to be prestigious. It's going to be everything. I just don't know that they can score on Ohio State. I really don't think they can.
I think Ohio State's a lot better than they are. I think, you keep looking back at the Penn State game and you go, how did Penn State lose this game? Based on a lot of things. And we talked about on the show last week. It's, the middle third, they lost that part. Now, the middle third the middle 8 of the game, the final 4 minutes of the first half, or the first half and the first 4 minutes of the second half, very pivotal time for football. And Notre Dame has dominated that all season long. So, that's something to look for in the next game. But it was they did well in the middle part of the game. In the middle 8, they did well on third downs, and then Drew Aller threw a terrible pass, and they were able to overcome Penn State. But aside from a fall down and a couple of things where Penn State kind of shot themselves in the foot, it's not like they were moving the ball up and down the field against the Nittany Lions. So it's going to be even more of a grueling task against Ohio State. They're going to need to force some turnovers. They're going to have to, take care of the ball, run the ball, and be able to get, multiple runs and do well in the trenches. But I just, Ohio State's got better trench guys than Penn State did, and Penn State dominated the trenches for the majority of that game. So it's going to be a very daunting task, I think, for Notre Dame. You never know in championship games or playoff games. Emotion gets involved, and sometimes you don't think clearly, and you panic trying to fix things on the fly. So with all of that, you never know which way the ball's going to bounce. But I would imagine Ohio State's probably going to handle Notre Dame pretty easily.
I do too. I'm not really a betting guy. I do enjoy daily fantasy sports,
especially with underdog.
Yeah, especially. It's great, by the way, available in California, but. Nonetheless, I think this is one I would probably feel comfortable putting a wager on. I'd feel reasonably comfortable. I just think Ohio State's the best team money can buy, and I think that came out as the year went on. And as noted multiple times in the beginning of the show in the chat, they are thankful, as everyone who's in the playoff is thankful. They are thankful for the new rules. The Ohio State wouldn't have made the 4-team championship this year. There's no way, even though and that would have been the whole argument. The whole thing would have been playing out, and we would have already had a champion by now, and then everyone would have been arguing, well, you know what? I think Ohio State was better than all 4 of the teams that made the playoff. But we don't have to worry about that anymore. Now we're down to, franchises like, I keep saying franchises, programs like Alabama that lose 3 times in their conference going, we should have made it. Like, no, shut up, mopey 15th team. 12 teams get in. You fight your way through it, and if there's anything that to me is a glorious endorsement of the CFP, it's the fact that Ohio State had their entire season ruined until it wasn't. They had lost to Michigan, and they were Googling Ryan Day's buyout, and now instead they're right there, the heavy favorite to win the trophy.
Yeah, it's the beauty of the 12-team playoff. I think a lot of people make the argument that maybe they're one of the top 4 teams anyway in the college football playoff. But that being said, you got to be able to go out there and perform. And you have all these metrics, and you have too many people. I still don't like the fact that it's not completely automatic qualifiers. I think you're always going to have a problem until that is the case. But it's think about what the national championship would have been, Oregon and Georgia, and both of those teams lost immediately in the first round. Georgia was limping in with their quarterback situation. Oregon at 13-0 or whatever it was, thought they were unbeatable, and Ohio State went in there and destroyed them at the Rose Bowl. So it opens up the door for a lot of opportunities for good teams to play their way out. And the thing is this is the closest thing you're going to have to finding the best team at the end of the year because of the war of attrition that football is. And going week to week to week and having to survive and be able to game plan and do everything that you have to do to win a championship. I mean, this is the most earned national championship there's going to be since they started doing a playoff.
Yeah. Overall, great result for the bracket by the end. A lot of non-competitive games along the way. I think we were hoping for a lot more drama in the playoff than we've had. We've gotten almost none. We had one pretty good game with Arizona State and Texas. Good finish to it. We had a legitimately great game, Notre Dame and Penn State, that would stand up as a championship-level quality game. And we just got to hope that Monday is a game like that. If it is, I like Notre Dame. Because if it is a close game that goes back and forth, I think coaching makes a huge difference. I just don't see it that way. I see this one as a disappointing Super Bowl when I was growing up style romp for Ohio State, where Notre Dame has a hard time running for more than negative 10 yards for the game because the sacks count against your rushing total, right?
In college it does.
Yeah, so I could see them run for a negative amount in that game, and that be the difference because basically Ohio State has an NFL defensive line, and that should be enough to win the game.
The other thing, too, it's we didn't have too many great games in the NFL this weekend either. We had one.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody saying we need to only have 4 teams make the playoff. Nobody's bitching and moaning about that.
No one ever bitches and moans about NFL games. That's why I love to note when NFL games are really bad.
Yeah, sometimes they are. On the weekend, they didn't have any good games. You got to limit how many teams. Are all those teams that got smoked not deserving to make the playoffs? Yeah, it's a stupid argument. It just doesn't make any sense. And just let's make it a real bracket. And let's let them play. And let's go. And let's make it automatic qualifiers so nobody can complain about it anymore.
Deputy Commissioner.
That's right.
Of the new College Football Professional League.
24 teams. Let's make it happen.
He's the right guy for the job. I'm firmly convinced of that. Braden is going to get that job one of these days.
Yes. There you go.
Clip these segments. Maybe
That's
we
right.
can use them.
I'll use them in my next presentation.
Use them in your sizzle reel.
That's right. Here's my playoff idea.
When we come back, I am excited to reopen the lines for silly games. Always love to play a silly game with y'all. And today we are playing Fast Money, the bonus round from the very popular Family Feud game show that you've watched for decades. All you're going to need to do is beat me on 5 questions looking for the most popular answer, as was revealed when Braden recently surveyed a former Annie and Elsten studio audience.
Recently.
They never have a studio audience on Mondays, I've noticed.
It's true.
It's usually Tuesdays.
Tuesday, last studio.
That's when you're going to want to get your ticket if you want to get surveyed in Braden's upcoming surveys. It's for the Tuesday shows. Okay, so let's open up the phones right now. I do not have a bell. Blang. 833-288-0973. Phone lines are open. 833-288-0973. Give us a call right now. Braden will pick out a contestant, and when we come back, we play Fast Money on Annie and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We have decided that we agree with Maggie Gray. Marcus Freeman should not leave Notre Dame for Chicago Bears. It's a really bad idea.
Unless the dude just really wants to retire.
I mean, if he's going to get $20 more million or something, if he's going to get a ridiculous amount of money, maybe.
I would entertain it just to get a contract extension from Notre Dame.
Right. But once you inevitably get ground up in the meat grinder that is the Bears and you're spit out the other end in 4 years, it's not like Notre Dame's going to give you the job back.
You don't have to go back. You don't get to go back to Notre Dame.
No.
Unless the guy that took over for you stinks.
No, you're going to wind up on the 11th place SEC team.
That's right.
Or the 13th place Big Ten
Or
team.
just going to be retired.
Yeah. Or, hey, I mean, he would be great on TV, obviously.
True.
He'd do terrific on TV. So
No, unless you're trying to get a contract extension, it makes no sense. Plus, the college coaches make more than NFL guys anyway.
Yeah. That easy call for Marcus Freeman sitting on top of the college football world
no
right
thanks.
now.
You want me to work for one of the most disastrous NFL franchises?
It's pretty funny.
No, thank you.
That's pretty funny. Could you imagine if they were our beloved Bears? Oh, what a bad
That would
year
have
it would
sucked.
have been.
Why do you think I was so adamant about it?
No, you were strong. You were strong.
I was
on
like,
that.
nope, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. You are a hard no on Chicago. That
Hard
was a
no. You guys
great
can do
call.
that. That's fine.
No, it was
I'll
a
root
great
for the
call on your
Lions.
part. It was a great call on your part. Lions was a good call.
Beloved Lions.
Our beloved Lions in play this week. Let's go. Let's go to Fast Money.
Our beloved Fast Money.
It is beloved. Here is what's at stake. Hang on, got to get the mouse over here. Here's what's at stake the rest of the week and the rest of the month. A chance to qualify for our grand prize, a trip to Las Vegas to see Scorpions on March 6th, plus a 2-night stay at Planet Hollywood and a $100 gas card. Scorpions returns with their 60 years of the Scorpions Las Vegas residency show live. Scorpions has not been playing for 60 years in Las Vegas. What?
Scorpions return with their 60 years of Scorpions. Las Vegas.
Scorpions has
residency.
been around for 60 years.
I guess. I don't know.
Well, anyway, Scorpions is playing at Las Vegas. They're playing at Planet Hollywood Resort and Casino, February 27th to March 11th. I don't think they've been together for 60 years. Prove me wrong. They'd be a 60s band. There was no hair metal bands in the 60s.
Yep. Sir, I don't make the prices.
Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com.
Put the fries in the bag. It's not that deep. I don't know who wrote that. It wasn't me. That's what the thing said. That's what you're getting.
Scorpions return with their 60 years of the Scorpions Las Vegas residency show. So maybe that's the name of the show, 60 Years of the Scorpions.
I guess.
I have questions, and I'm not going to get answers. Here's what I'm going to get. I'm going to get Paul in Scripps Ranch to be a contestant today on Fast Money. Hello, Paul.
Hi, how are you?
Well, I'm good. I got confused by the Scorpions, but I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be just fine. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Paul, before we play the game today.
Local San Diegan, grew up here, went to San Diego State. Padres big fan, and that's about it.
Okay.
Nice.
That's all we need, brother. That's all we need. Today's game is Fast Money. Here's how it's going to work. Normally, I'd tell you it would begin with a choice. The choice has been made for you today, and he's not here. You will be taking on me. I am about to leave the studio, at which point we will turn things over to our resident, Richard Dawson. That is Braden Suprenant. He has previously surveyed a former Annie and Elsten studio audience to get their most popular answers to 5 questions. He'll ask you those 5 questions. You are looking for the most popular answer. I won't be able to know what answers you give. Then I will come back in, get the same 5 questions. I can't use the answers you give, so that's a big advantage to you. We'll add up the scores, and if you win or tie, you're heading to see the Scorpions, potentially. You're in the drawing to see the Scorpions, who many people in the chat have informed me banded together in 1965. So, okay. I never knew. I was today years old when I found out the Scorpions were founded in 1965. Paul, I'm leaving, and I wish you good luck, sir.
Thank you.
All right, wait for Craig to leave and close the door. 1 minute on the clock. We'll start after I ask you question number 1. Not really a question, but give a word to describe steak.
What was the word again?
Give a word to describe steak.
Well done.
Give me a good gift for a bridal shower.
Crystal.
Give me a word associated with photography.
Camera.
When you have an itch in the middle of your back, name something you could use to scratch it.
The corner of a wall.
Give me an expression that contains the word business.
Business school.
Business pool?
School?
School, business school. All right. All good answers. We'll now bring Craig back in. Tolling up his answers real quick.
Okay. All right. I'm excited to play the game. As excited as you are to do math.
That's what Excel's for. I'll bring you back on the screen here.
Hi.
All right. 1 minute on the clock.
Here we go.
Give a word to describe steak.
Ooh. Tender.
Tender. That's a good word.
Tenderoni.
Give me a good gift for a bridal shower.
You
got
appliances.
Oh, appliances. I'll give you credit for one of these. Give me a word associated with photography.
A word associated with photography. Lens. I don't know if that's what you're looking for, but...
I mean, could be. When you have an itch in the middle of your back, name something you use to scratch it.
A back scratcher?
A back scratcher. Seems simple enough.
My dad used to have one of those when I was growing up. It's a big long thing of
Yeah,
bamboo and a little hand on the back.
I got a couple of those laying around the house. You could get those. I remember you could get those like as a prize at Boomers for like 8 tickets or something. That was like a cheap there's a back scratcher. Oh, great.
I got a stuffed animal. I got a video game. I got a back scratcher.
It's still better than Charlie Brown who got a rock.
That's true.
Give me an expression that contains the word business.
Show business.
Okay.
Oh, I was waiting for the buzz.
Nah, it's kind of worded wrong. I understand what they're trying to accomplish here, but...
All right.
All right. Let's get with some of these. Not our best.
No?
No. They're kind of worded weird, in my opinion. Give a word to describe steak. Paul said, well done.
Okay.
We're going to give 19 points for tough.
Okay.
There's only 4 answers on there.
Fair enough.
Craig said tender. 24 points.
Hey.
Number 1 answer was rare, 27, followed by juicy.
Juicy.
Rare, tender, juicy, tough. There's your
Okay.
4 answers. Give me a good gift for a bridal shower. Again, it's just the timing of this. You know, when this panel was probably asked.
Sure. What did they ask? What did they say?
Paul said crystal.
Okay.
0. There's only 4 answers
classical
for this. I don't know.
wedding gift.
Craig said appliances.
Yeah.
I'll give you 20. Is a toaster an appliance?
Yes.
I would say so. 25 points for toaster. Specifically a toaster. 25 people said a toaster. Not appliances, just a toaster.
Just a toaster. You just got to give him a toaster.
Nightgown, toaster, linens, towels.
Nightgown.
Toaster.
What would you like to... Jeez, panel, back off. Nightgown.
Toaster.
I mean, at least a toaster's practical.
25 people said a toaster specifically?
And no one said crystal?
No.
Ridiculous.
Give me a word associated with photography. Paul said camera.
Great call.
35 points.
Yeah, good job.
Craig said lens. 0. Number 1 answer was picture.
It's 49-44 me, so this is a good game right now.
Picture is number 1, followed by camera, film, Kodak, cheese.
Okay.
3 people said
Fine.
cheese.
Fine.
That's the first thing that came to mind when. Oh, cheese. I say cheese when a picture's happening. The logic of some of these people. When you have an itch in the middle of your back, name something used to scratch it.
What did Paul say?
He said corner of a wall.
Okay, all right, a wall.
Do we want to give him door frame?
Sure, it seems a good idea.
There's only 4 answers. We'll give him door frame.
Yeah, give him
32 points.
30, wow, geez. Well, maybe I don't want him to give him that.
Craig said back scratcher.
Yeah.
You would think that would be the best answer.
I would think so.
It's the worst. It's 8 points.
It's ridiculous.
Number 1 answer was pen or a pencil.
What?
Okay. Door frame was number 2. Number 3 was another person. Back scratcher was 4.
Well, he's got 86 now with that
You got
huge move.
57.
And I've got 57. So I need a big win with Showbiz here.
Give me an expression that contains the word business. He said business school. No. You said show business.
I need 36.
Also no. I guess it's worded weird. Number 1 was none of your business. Number 2 is mind your business. Number 3 was business card. Number 4 is business before pleasure.
Whoa.
Number 5 was taking care of business. And then 6 was business or pleasure.
Ridiculous.
Does that make more sense now? Or
Here's what makes sense. It makes sense to me that Paul is the winner.
Yes.
And Paul is in the drawing, and Paul could go see what I presume are 80 to 90-year-old members of the band Scorpions.
You're really hung up on the 60 thing, huh?
Yeah, 1965, the Scorpions.
It's a long time ago.
It's not the same singer, I hope. It'd be wild if it was.
Why is there an EMT in the background? Oh, that's for him.
Just wheel him out. Starts with a 14-minute rambling story about his trip to the grocery store, and then straight into...
So it's just Matt Scraby? That's
Yes.
Scraby's
Can you imagine
voice.
when Scraby gets old?
Oh, God.
Could you even imagine?
He's not even 40 yet.
I know. But
Oh
he's
my
the oldest. He's the oldest 40-year, not 40-year-old.
I mean, I'm the oldest 29-year-old.
You are the
ever,
oldest
but
29-year-old.
still, I'm not at Scraby's level. Scraby is like me times 100. That's what I look forward to in 10 years. Daily gripes.
I'm going to do some Scorpions research. I see everyone's been plowing through their Wikipedia to explain it all to me, but I'm going to figure out some more before we get back here at 1 o'clock. Coming up at 1 o'clock, Alejandro Chiva Villaseñor has been out at Singing Hills. He has been at San Diego FC's first ever full squad practice. But do they have a full squad? Who's left to be signed to San Diego FC? What hope does this roster offer to San Diego fans who are about to dive into MLS 2 feet first? Should we be expecting a bottom of the table team, middle of the table, a team that could compete for a playoff spot like St. Louis City did a couple of years ago as an expansion franchise? We're going to find out everything from Chiva, who has been out there on the sidelines all morning long. That live report is coming up to kick off hour number 4 of the Annie and Elsten program. So stay right there. Annie Heilbrunn off today once again for the Salute to Champions dinner, which is tonight. Braden will have a report from that tomorrow morning.
I will be there.
And we hope to have Annie back either for the second half of tomorrow's show or for Wednesday's program at the latest. I'm Craig Elsten with Braden Soprenet. It's the Annie and Elsten Show, and we're back with that SDFC first ever training camp report when we return on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. All right, so paying off my research, Braden, from the commercial break, Scorpions was formed at a very young age. Teenagers formed the band Scorpions. So their lead singer, Klaus Meine, who missed the first 4 years.
Isn't that the fish in American Dad? Klaus?
Klaus. Klaus Meine is 76, the lead singer of Scorpions. 76.
Not a spring chicken?
No. No, sir. They're all in their they're all pushing upper 70s now. But if you think about it, that's pretty young for a band that is purporting itself to be 60 years old.
That's true. That is 100% true.
Like, you really have to start young to still be playing 60 years later. Because if you started in your 30s, a little bit tough.
Yeah, a little bit different.
A little bit tough.
Is that a 90-year-old up there? What's going on?
But anyways, if you didn't qualify to go see Scorpions today, you can try and qualify tomorrow. Paul qualified today. Hour number 4 of Annie and Elsten. I'm Craig Elsten. Braden Soprano, you just heard him right over there. Annie Halbern is off today for the Salute to Champions dinner this evening. We hope to have... Thank you, Eddie, in the chat. Klaus Meine. Okay, well, look. This is the most I've ever known about Scorpions is right now. So, apologies for... I did not take German on Duolingo. I've only worked on Spanish. Speaking of...
Go eat some schnitzel.
A fine language and the border to our south. That's pretty close to Singing Hills. Close enough, at least, to qualify for MLS rules. Singing Hills is where San Diego FC has been out on the pitch today for the first day ever of training camp. And right now, happy to welcome to the program on our 97.3 The Fan hotline, Alejandro Chiva Villaseñor, who along with our friend Tony Sanchez puts together San Diego Punto Football, Abraham Cepeda as well. Of course, Chiva and Abe have been out there on the sidelines watching the first day of SDFC training camp. And Chiva joining us now on Annie and Elsten. How are you, my friend? How are things?
Hey, Craig. How's it going? Great to be on. Thank you for having me. It's going great.
Well, the pleasure is mine, sir. Wish I could be out there, but set the scene for us, will you? What's it looking like out there? What's been the vibe for the first day of actually putting on the kits as a real team and playing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, it was my first time over at the facility at the Sharp Healthcare Performance Center. I was very impressed from what I saw. Obviously, still some construction going on, but the field looks amazing. The grass looked pretty great, and it was really impressive just to see the players already interacting with one another.
All right, so give us a sense, Chiva, because we've seen player signings drip in over the last few days, the last couple of weeks. We've got one that was announced today that we can get to here shortly. But in terms of percentage of what they're expecting to roll out on February 23rd, how close is SDFC to truly having their full squad?
They're very close, Craig. We did get to talk to their sporting director, Tyler Heaps, and I did ask him if there are a few pieces missing, right? And he did say there's about 3 to 5 players that they still want to sign, one of them being a right winger who has been rumored a lot, possibly being the new DP signing. They're also still looking for a number 10, an attacking midfielder who, in the words of Mikey, they want this number 10 to connect their build-up and just a player that can transition the game from the midfield into the attacking third. Their right winger, they want someone who can make the difference in scoring goals and assisting. So there's still a few players missing that they want. But, I mean, the transfer window is still open until the end of January for sure.
Chucky Lozano, everybody knows. We've heard the names coming in so far. It's day one. I understand, Chiva. I'm asking questions that are unanswerable, but I think a lot of people are curious as to what the identity of this club is going to be, what their style is going to be. Have you seen any hints?
Yeah, so, I mean, that was one of the things that head coach Mike Ibarra touched on. What he wants to build and kind of set the standard on week one is building that culture. That's his main priority. And, from what we saw, the training from the let us see was a lot of conditioning, a lot of fundamentals, passing drills. So we couldn't really get the sense of what their tactics are going to be. But again, it's day one. I'm assuming a lot of this week one stuff is going to be fundamentals, running drills, passing drills, getting to know one another. It takes a while to build that chemistry, especially for players that have never played together before. So it is going to be interesting to see what that style looks like in the future.
We're talking to Alejandro Chiva Villaseñor from the website San Diego.futbol. That's San Diego.futbol. Also co-host of the Two Balls and a Mic podcast, which will be on live with Tony and Chiva tonight at 8 p.m. And that's where we'll hear all of those interviews that you discussed with Tyler Heaps and Mikey Vadas, so on and so forth. Today, there was the announcement of a new player, midfielder Oni Valakari, on loan from Cyprus, played on the island of Cyprus for Paphos FC, one-year deal, club option for 2026. Midfielders got some goals. Is Cyprus a hotbed of soccer?
Apparently, right. I mean, there's an attacking midfielder from Finland who's going to be wearing number 8, I believe I saw on the post. But, from what we've heard from the club is that this is a player that can also help in that transition in the attacking third. So kind of like what they're looking for, that number 10 player to be, this could potentially be it as well.
So maybe a chance, maybe a chance for him to step into that 10 role.
Yeah, it could be. That's the position that he plays. So it'll be interesting to see if they do bring someone else to add competition. We all know competition within the team is always a good thing. But this could potentially be one of those players that could get the starting position.
All right, timeline going forward, Chiva. First day of training camp today. How long does this go? Are there going to be closed scrimmages? We're aware of the Coachella Valley. Is that the entire preseason? What's in line between here and February 23rd?
Yeah, so they have training up until Saturday, January 25th, where they're going to have a closed-door scrimmage against Phoenix Rising. We all know Phoenix Rising, big rivals of the San Diego Loyal Days. And they're going to have another closed-door scrimmage on Saturday, February 1st against Sacramento Republic. Those are going to be closed doors, no media, no fans allowed against those USL championship clubs. And then they travel on Friday, February 7th to Coachella for the Coachella Invitational, where they're going to be facing against New York FC, Portland Timbers, and the New York Red Bulls.
Good information. Appreciate you. How much longer is stuff going on out there today?
I believe training's still going on. I'm not too sure what time the players were going to get a break, but it was definitely interesting to see the players going out, running some drills. Some players look a little winded. Obviously, they got to get back into that match fitness for sure.
Before I let you go, Chiva, just a couple of words on San Diego Wave FC. Obviously, they finally locked in something you guys had reported for a long time. Jonas Eidevall taking over as head coach. The story broke this weekend that Jaden Shaw will be out at Wave, that she's going to be traded to North Carolina Courage. And then I saw you guys reporting in the last few minutes the signing of a new Nigerian forward, Chiamaka Okwuchukwu. I'm going to have to learn this eventually, Chiva, for PA. But what could you tell me about the new Nigerian?
Yeah, so, she's 19 years old. She, for the Confederation of African Football, she was a finalist for the Young Player of the Year award. So she's a striker with a lot of pace and can definitely get behind the defenders. Whether the finishing is there or not, we'll have to see, right? But, going back to that Jaden Shaw news, in my opinion, that's a big, big miss from San Diego Wave. I think they're counting a lot on different players that they're bringing in. But to our understanding, sources do confirm that it will be announced later this week. And she was a player that had requested a trade back in the day. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, it just seems like what a bummer for Shaw to leave San Diego, Chiva. But at the same time, and I know you were at so many of the matches, I'd see you, Abe, Tony, out at so many of the Wave matches. It just never felt even once last year like Jaden Shaw was plugged in for the team. She just felt disconnected, whether it was many times, I think we said tactics were wrong, put her in a different part of the field, give her a different opportunity. She was playing further back in the midfield as opposed to playing up front as a forward. But with this news now, it really adds context, and it makes me wonder if she was in some ways not mentally completely plugged in as well as physically.
Yeah, 100%. You can kind of see it back from the the Olympics, right, with the roster where she wasn't match fit for most of the Olympics, and then coming back from injury, it's always hard to get back into match fitness. So I could also see San Diego Wave side on this, maybe counting on Jaden Shaw to not be the same player that she was. So making that trade now with the value that she's at makes sense to them. But, yeah, I agree with you, Craig. It's definitely a head-scratcher, and we'll see if it's a good move for San Diego Wave when the season starts.
Chiva, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for the live report. Please tell all of the fans, including all of the folks out there who are becoming new soccer fans, who are trying to find information, footholds that they can utilize to start to build their foundation of soccer knowledge, how they can support what all you guys are doing at San Diego Punto Football.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. You can find all of our social media on our website, sandiego.football, just how Craig said it, or just on our social media at San Diego Football. You'll be able to find us there, and we do all of our reporting on our website, as well as our podcast on Mondays, like Craig mentioned, live at 8 p.m. with our podcast, Two Balls in the Mic, every Monday.
Chiva, have a good afternoon out there. Hope you had the sunscreen ready. Hope you are fully prepared in your reporting role there on the sideline. We'll chat with you down the road.
Thank you, Craig. Have a good one.
Thank you so much, Chiva. Appreciate you. I think we've done our very best, Braden, to try and stay right on top of this brand new MLS franchise as it takes its place within our sports ecosystem. And it's going to be jarring to some folks a month and 2 weeks from now, when they are out there and they're in MLS and they're on Apple TV and they're playing Galaxy and LAFC and, Sporting KC, all of these, clubs that have decades of history, well, in Galaxy's case, decades of history behind them, and to realize we're in this now. We're in the global soccer ecosystem now. We're part of a first division club here in San Diego.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool, and it's getting even closer now, and it's really, now's the first real step, because it's been a couple of years of planning and everything like that, but they're finally out there on the field getting ready for the season, and it'll be here before you know it.
Been chatting with the folks at SDFC, hoping to have a player guest on toward the end of the week from training camp, and we'll be bringing you, whether it's from Tony or Chiva or from the club itself, we'll be bringing you as many of the sounds as we can of SDFC training camp as they get ready. And then when they are underway, Padres will be in spring training. And the next thing you know, it'll be April 1st and everything will be going at once. It'll just be like, wow. I literally can't wait for this spring and summer. I can't wait.
Great.
I cannot wait. I can't wait that when it's a cold week in Padre Town, it might be a hot week for SDFC. When it's a cold week for SDFC, it might be a hot week for San Diego Padres. But we should have something to chew on every week starting in February and from here on out. All right. Thank you so much, Chiva. Appreciate you, man. We're going to come back and hit reset on some of the topics we got to at the beginning of the show, including, is there one more team out in the Roki Sasaki sweepstakes? Roki's been handing out the black roses today. He's been handing out his so sorry, but can't come with you, and he has knocked out some of the key teams. Another one is off the board. We will tell you who when we come back. Annie and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Welcome back. 1:19 is the time. Craig Elsten, Braden Soprano here with you on the Annie and Elsten Show. Annie is knee-deep in prep for tonight's Salute to Champions dinner. And she will be back either late on Tuesday or at the start of Wednesday's show. And we look forward to having the whole group reunited once again. Let's talk Roki, the latest. I'm legit nervous by this, in the sense that Roki Sasaki is doing today, through his agent, the equivalent of NFL training camps, the Turk. You know, all these various MLB teams are coming back into their hypothetical, metaphorical locker rooms and finding a little note. Hey, go see the Turk. Bring your Yankees, bring your playbook. Mets, bring your playbook.
That's right.
You're out. Giants, bring your playbook. You're out. And in the last half an hour, we have been given 2 more teams out on Roki Sasaki. According to various reports, we can lock these down. The Rangers have been told that they are out on Roki Sasaki. And the latest report in the last few minutes is that the Cubs have been told that they are out on Roki Sasaki, which would bring us down to the Padres, the Blue Jays, and the LAs.
Gross.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even though it's all news, and this is happening faster today than I thought this would start happening on the 15th.
Me too.
Where he'd start crossing names out and drag it out and then eventually sign. He obviously is getting through this a lot faster than it was expected, but there hasn't been too many shockers on this, because again, the 2 favorites were the Padres and the Dodgers. It's always been the 2 favorites. It's been the 2 favorites the entire time.
Yep.
And those are the 2 teams that have not been crossed off the list with the Blue Jays. And if somebody reports today or tomorrow that the Blue Jays are off the list, color me shocked.
Right.
I would not be, just jaw dropped. Oh my God, can't believe it. Until either the Padres or Dodgers get crossed off, then I'd be like, oh wow, this is interesting.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be the case. It's just going to come down to the final 2. Instead of crossing another name off, it's just going to announce his signing, and that will be that. So the fact that with everything that's happened with the Padres the last couple of weeks, that they're still in the running is great. Roki Sasaki having us in the final 3. We don't get to hang a banner for that, but at the same time, it's good news, I think, for the Padres. It'd be nice to not come in second for a Japanese superstar again, because the last time we did, it turned into be Shohei Ohtani, which is a different circumstance, obviously, with the DH.
We didn't have the DH, though.
With the DH, so we can hang the banner for that, I guess. But
I don't think we should hang the banner.
Just hang all these banners.
I don't think we should.
We're so close. But anyway, it's you mentioned it perfectly. It changes the decade of the Padres if they're able to get this guy. It really changes the dynamic of this season. And honestly, it changes what you do for the rest of the offseason. Because if they don't get Sasaki, and then now you got to start plugging and placing and trying to find contracts that work, maybe shipping off some products and then receiving others to try to make the money work.
Right.
I don't think you necessarily have to do that if you sign Sasaki.
I agree.
I think you could go after it at least in the first couple months and go to the trade deadline and see where you stand, and then you can make future financial decisions later. And it's 2025. We're going for it. But if they don't sign Sasaki, now all of a sudden we got to play the game with the books again.
If you sign Sasaki, then you could get away this offseason with only making one move. In terms of
correct
trade a Cronenworth or a Suarez or an Arise. But you wouldn't have to trade Dylan Cease.
I don't think so.
And then you could have a Cease, King, Darvish, Sasaki top 4 in your rotation.
With 3 to 5 guys that could be the last guy.
Precisely. And then you jumble between Waldron and Vasquez and Brito and maybe a Morahone conversion, whatever, right, whatever you want. But you've got a group of guys for one position, which is a good position to be in as a franchise. You could hold everything if you sign Sasaki. If you don't sign Roki Sasaki, now to fill out your rotation, you almost have to trade Cease. So it may seem counterintuitive. It certainly would be from a baseball standpoint, but it's almost like Sasaki buys you another year of Cease as well. As opposed to, well, in order to make it work, we got to go find a left fielder. We don't have the money, so now we got to trade the starting pitcher. Okay, well, now we're down to 2 reliable starting pitchers in our rotation. Who did we get back? Who can we sign off the bargain bin? Are we going to make a trade? Are we going to trade a position player to get a young starter coming back? Like, it's so much messier. Signing Sasaki is clean, pristine, minor league deal, couple $1 million out of the international bonus pool money, and you're set. You're set for the decade. So if it's truly down to these 3 teams, then it becomes so simple for us San Diegans. Sign with the Padres, change the whole decade. Sign with the Blue Jays? All right. Opportunity lost.
Jump on the ship as all their young guys start to bounce in free agency.
Right. Yeah. He maybe that gets Vladdy to sign. Maybe that gets Bichette to sign. I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe it changes their franchise for the decade. I don't want to look beyond Toronto. Toronto's a viable, it's the biggest market in Canada. It's not impossible that it happens. It would be bloody unlikely for it to happen. But if it did, it wouldn't materially hurt the Padres. It would affect them this year, but it wouldn't materially hurt them. If he signs with LA, it materially hurts us, potentially for 6 to 15 years.
Yes.
So the game is scary. The game is real. It's entering the finals, and the stakes have never been higher. And truly, here in San Diego, all we can do is wait and pray that we don't get the black rose. Because black roses have been handed out today, and none have come to San Diego. So that's thrilling news at this point, that other teams are getting scratched off the list. The reporting from The Athletic, if you missed it a couple of hours ago, was that Sasaki was in town this weekend, that he was here, that he went to Toronto to visit, and then he came here. And I'm sure he visited L.A. You wouldn't want to visit L.A. right now. Don't think that would affect him, would you? That LA was on fire?
I don't think so. He was there. He's been there for a while. He was training up there for a while, so
I would hope not.
He probably knows everything about LA already. But in terms of like this is, and some people are like, it's just one guy. It's not. It's different for the Padres based on their financials. That it is a major. This is a boomer bust pickup for them because of what he is worth compared to how much you're going to have to pay him during a time where you have to try to save some money, at least to bridge the gap with some of the young guys that are not ready in the farm system, most notably DeVries and Salas that can, flip things around for you, as well as, a couple of years of Sasaki. You get him for 6 years of control because he signs a minor league deal, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. He signs an entry deal.
So the first 3... you're kind of paying Darvish what you would relatively be paying Sasaki, and you're not, and you basically flip it. So now, you could pretend like Darvish is getting like a minor league deal and Sasaki's getting the big money, and then after 3 years, he's gone. You don't have to worry about paying him anymore. It frees up more money for you in the future. This is the bridge gap that they need to try to get to this second portion where they have these young guys coming up.
Right.
That's why this is such a boomer bust for the Padres. It's not for anybody else. Because other teams, if they don't get Sasaki, can go out there and go sign some other players.
Right.
They could go give out a $20 million a year contract or a $30 million a year contract, or they don't. Or they already, at least with the final 3 teams, the Dodgers don't even need him really. I mean, if they look at the grand scheme of things, does Sasaki make it better? Yeah, probably. But if he doesn't sign with them, are they going to be worse? No, they're already in a good spot. So. From those perspectives, yeah, it's very much live or die for the Padres right now, at least in their 2025 outlook and the next decade, as Craig mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, the ugly portion of looking ahead for San Diego is looking ahead to their obligations for the remainder of the decade and how many there are and how hamstrung the franchise is for major ads, whereas other teams could miss on Sasaki and then just turn around and open up the money bags for the next big free agent. You know, even if the Padres lost Luis Arraez, Dylan Cease, and Michael King off of next year's team, first off, that's 3 players, 2 starters you'd have to replace. Second of all, the total payment for all 3 of those guys this year is going to be $35 million. In other words, what Corbin Burns gets for 1 year. 1 year. 1 year of one guy. That's where the top of the free agent market is right now. So there's no sugarcoating it. There's no getting around it. This is either going to be one of the biggest wins in an offseason in the history of the franchise, potential to be the biggest. Or if he goes to LA, it's not good. You know,
it's very not good.
It's very not good. It's all the good things that were coming our way going directly to
not
a rival
great, Bob.
that doesn't need a $750,000 superstar on their team. We need a $750,000 superstar on this team. Our team's locked in, but he would be a key to unlock a higher level. Let's find out. We're going to find out as time rolls on when it comes to Roki Sasaki. But again, the news today, if you hadn't heard it earlier, is that A, Roki was here. Roki was here this weekend. B, the Mets, Yankees, Giants, Cubs, Rangers have all been told, Roki will not be signing with you.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Appreciate your help. Appreciate your due diligence. But Roki Sasaki will not be signing with you over the course of the winter. So the 3 teams that we know have visited with him and met with him that have not been told sayonara are LAD. Angels, probably not. LAD, San Diego, and Toronto. The report on the Cubs was from a reporter in Chicago, Mike something, at Mike Deportes on Twitter. Take it all for what it's worth. The actual signing could happen on... Here's the one last thing I'd like to say on this. We had been told pretty explicitly by Joel Wolfe, Roki will not sign on the 15th.
Right.
And there's obviously no reason not to believe him. But the fact that they're dusting teams like this and getting down to finalists so quickly, it makes me think the decision's been made, or at least is really close to being made.
I think it's probably made. I mean, or at least they've picked their final 2, right? But to me, I feel like he already knows where he's going to go. I mean, this is like a recruiting thing, right? They got all the hats out, and he's going to put the hat on, and everybody knows what hat he's going to pick, right? It's just kind of like a procedural thing, and I'm sure they're waiting on money for certain things with the international signing, and they got to wait for a certain standpoint and everything like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if Sasaki himself has already made this decision. Again, that's just kind of speculation. We don't know for sure, but the way he's just crossing names off the list, or at least teams are getting informed they're not in it. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of exciting. It's kind of nerve-wracking. So it's a little bit of everything right now. But for us Padres fans who have spent the entire winter, perpetually revisiting the Tyler Wade and Mike Brasso signings, how much more juice can we squeeze out of this onion?
Well, this is the first time that we've had news that wasn't like what we've already known about Sasaki, in a sense of Padres and Dodgers are finalists.
Right. Yeah, I literally think everything prior to this has just been
Hearsay.
Speculation, hearsay, random. People asking Joel Wolfe's friends, like trying to dig out something, find some nugget somewhere.
Hey, what did Joel Wolfe say at Happy Hour the other day?
Exactly. Buying booths next to Joel Wolfe's favorite haunts.
Eavesdropping.
What was that again? What did I hear? Did you say it's in the basket? Oh, you ordered brisket? What?
Is that a Sasaki brisket?
Did you order? You ordered Saki. He
Oh,
ordered Saki.
Dang it.
Not Sasaki.
Trash.
Hey, look, that's the downside.
That's true.
That's the downside of the restaurant scout.
That's right.
What? Donovan Solano to the Mariners? Is this real?
Sure.
You know what I was literally going to say? I had a mental note, and now I have it. I was going to say during this, hey, you know what's one thing that the Padres could do that'd be really easy? That they could just knock out? They could sign Donovan Solano, and they could sign David Peralta. Apparently, they have not signed Donovan Solano. I'm going to try and track this down.
AC put out an article. Padres appear to be finalists as other Sasaki suitors fall. It was at 133.
Okay.
135. Take that for what it's worth.
We're finalists as other suitors fall. Yep.
Yep. Donovan Solano, according for the Mariners' account.
A 1-year major league contract.
Wow.
Hey, you know what? That stinks.
That does kind of stink.
That stinks. The Padres could have re-signed Donovan Solano. And I get that the variance of the sport combined with his age could allow a front office to make the argument that you're not going to get what you got from him this year, next year. Yes, I do recognize that Donovan Solano has essentially 0 to negative value as a defender. He's just okay at third base, and we've got a third baseman. He's not very good at second base, and we've got a second baseman, and he's undersized to play first base, and we already have an undersized first baseman in Luis Ariz. So the positionless aspect, I understand. But dadgummit, Donovan Solano was the perfect bench piece for the San Diego Padres in 2024.
Yeah, you can still get DFA'd and you can pick him up.
Sure. Yeah, the Mariners could sour on his services. But the day that we signed him, and I looked him up and went, holy cow, this guy hits 285 every year. Like, he hits 285 every year. Once he got locked in baseball, he's a 285, 290, 300 style hitter. And I do believe he will be that for Seattle once again next year. And we could have got him for not a whole lot. I promise you whatever Seattle paid him was something that even the Padres could afford. So this one really bums me out more than Peralta, more than even Higashioka, who I really wondered what his performance would be next year. I thought that Solano was an easy space to cover on the game board for the San Diego Padres. I thought this would be an easy one to resolve. I thought it could have been a quick one to resolve. And to see this come up flat and him go to Seattle and even stay in Peoria, for God's sakes, and just go down the wrong hallway at the Peoria Sports Complex, that really bums me out. I think that stinks.
I'd agree with that.
And with that, we had good news, but you can't have it all at once, gang. So it's time to go ahead and open up the lines. Let's play Ask Us Anything to wrap up the show. You have 12 minutes to call the program. It's essentially 1:38 right now. You've got between now and 1:50 to call the show. 833-288-0973 is our number. 833-288-0973. Phone lines are open. And if you'd like to give us a ring in the next 12 minutes, we will get you on hold and we will get you on the air before we are off the air at 54:15. All we ask is that you come prepared with a question to ask the show. Doesn't have to be about sports. It can be about anything. We will do Ask Us Anything to wrap up the program when we come back. 833-288-0973, the number to use right now. Annie and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 144 on the fan.
Try again.
Wrapping up. Yeah, 144 on the fan. Welcome back. Annie and Elsten here with you. According to the chat, I didn't see this, but apparently Solano got $3.5 million to go to Seattle.
Good for him.
That is good for him.
That wouldn't have been great for the Padres, in my opinion.
I mean, I feel like it's a fair market price.
Yep.
For a guy who hits 285 every single year.
Thanks for the memories.
Like a metronome. But, yes, the dude in the chat, the Padres are still paying Eric Hosmer to...
Last year.
Yeah, seed money for Moonball Media continues. Another $13 million in his coffers this year. Hopefully he builds a podcast empire.
Last year.
Out of it. And then a year from now, we'll be able to afford 3 Donovan Solanos for the price of 1 Haas dog.
Is that exciting? Are we excited about that?
Well, I mean, I think if we didn't have the Haas dog salary on the books, we might have signed Donovan Solano.
There you go.
You know?
It's possible.
Yeah, Kirsten in the chat, Mike Brasso replaces Donovan Solano. Mike Brasso, not Donovan Solano.
What are the vibes like?
Not Donovan. Not a 285 hitter rolling out of bed. That's the thing about Solano. He'll hit 285 rolling out of bed. Donnie Barrels. I am legitimately bummed about this. And I'm not going to overdo it.
Mikey Barrels.
Yeah.
God, I hope so. For our sake.
Mikey Barrels.
Brasso, Barrels.
Mikey Brasso. Yeah, I don't think so. Oh, well. A lot of times it's a good thing not to hang on to your great success stories from the year prior because the cruel nature of baseball is that your hopes are dashed, is that you find something that you like and you hang on to it and then you realize, oh, I should have let it go. Oh, I caught lightning in a bottle and then I tried to recatch lightning in the bottle and I've got an empty bottle now. You know, that is normally what happens. More often than not, that's what happens. It could be that Donovan Solano hits 218 with a 279 on-base percentage for Seattle this year, and it's the last year of his career in the major leagues. It could be, but I would have loved to seen him back. And I thought this morning, getting ready for this show today, that one of the things I wanted to say on the air was that they could make an easy move. And I'll be honest, Braden, I thought it'd be for less than $3.5 million. But I thought they could have made an easy move and brought back Solano and Peralta on 1-year major league deals and at least lock in that bench part that has been so solid at the end of 2024. Obviously, they're going to go a different direction.
Yep. No more Donovan Solano. He's now with the Mariners. Maybe see about Peralta. I'm surprised Kim's not signed yet.
Yeah, I am too.
It's a little shocking to me.
I am too.
And I think the longer he stays on the market, the more the door opens for a 1-year deal.
Make good.
Well, just like he's
Get
gonna
healthy
miss
next
like
year.
two months, and if nobody wants to deal with that, you might as well do a 1-year deal. He might at the beginning of the offseason, I thought there's no way he does that, but the longer this drags out, the more like, well, leverage kind of flips now.
Jerkson hasn't signed either.
He was working out with Fernando the other day.
It's good to see.
He did that when he was on other teams too. But
correct.
Yes, it's cool. He was wearing the Padres shorts. Maybe that means something. You're overanalyzing. It's not.
Yeah.
Everybody that looks at the Instagrams and stuff like that, you're overanalyzing.
And I get it. You know, the folks who have been spending the whole time in the chat casting negative aspersions against the Padres and saying some pretty ridiculous stuff now are trying to turn it around on me because I'm saying I'm disappointed about Solano not signing or saying, I told you, blah, blah, blah.
That doesn't mean you can't be disappointed about it.
I'm legitimately disappointed in this. I think they could have, and I think they could have found a way. I think they could have found a way. They did not find a way. And, okay, here's the last thing I'll say. This is more analytical. I know who's taking Donovan Solano's spot. Don't you?
No.
Eggy Rosario.
No, there you go.
Eggy Rosario is out of options. Eggy Rosario pounded left-handed pitching last year. Eggy Rosario is a right-handed batter. He can play third base.
Younger than Peralta.
He can play second base.
Younger than Solano.
Yeah. He plays the position better than Solano does. He's in-house. He costs nothing. He does need to get his major league career started. I honestly thought Eggy was going to be traded this offseason in one deal or another. We haven't made a single trade the whole offseason, so obviously that hasn't come true yet. But letting Solano go makes me think it's Eggy's year. And if Eggy Rosario hits double-digit home runs, he will have out-homered Donovan Solano this year. So I don't think it's the end of the world tying to Eggy and saying he's going to be a big leaguer. It does make a lot of sense for the Padres franchise where they are right now. But I'm still bummed. I still think Solano would have been a really, really cool fit for this club in 2025. All right, we've talked through it all, but we got Juan and Vista waiting. Let's play the bumper. And if you tried to call right now, we'd probably sneak you in. 833-288-0973 is our number. 833-288-0973. But here's Juan in Vista. He knows the drill. He knew to hold, and now he's on. What's going on, Juan?
Hey, fellas. I hope you're having a great day. I just wanted to ask, who do you think is more likely to get traded, Suarez or Arise? And what do you think the Padres get in return for either of them?
Okay, good question, Juan. I'm going to say Suarez is the more likely of the two to be traded because the Padres don't even have to do anything. They could trade Suarez, slide Estrada up into the 7-8-9, and still have a super effective 7-8-9 for next year. Not as easy, though, if you don't bring back Tanner Scott. Could you imagine a world where they traded Robert Suarez and signed Tanner Scott?
I would love that world. I'd be super in on that.
That's a world I'd like to live in.
After signing Sasaki.
Yes.
Sign Sasaki, trade Suarez, sign Scott. Ready for 2025.
And 6 and 7.
Yeah, we'll see in Peoria.
A lot of chatter in the chat about Terso Ornelas. I guess he's killing it in the Mexican League. I don't think the Padres are going to put Terso Ornelas out in left field.
I don't think so either.
Yeah,
good for him.
I would like to see him try and make the team. Remember that when there was at one day last year, there was a Terso has been called up report. And It never happened.
Never happened.
It never happened. But, with that said, and I heard the boys this morning talk about it. Juan, thank you for the call. I don't like to I'm not trying to put anything into the universe or anything. I just think there's an argument to be made that if you traded Robert Suarez, you're moving him at the exact right time.
100%. This is the time to move him for sure.
Yeah. Mr. One-Pitch Pitcher. Because I think that memory has faded just a little bit here in town as to what we were saying about Robert Suarez in the final month and a half.
I was ready for him to not close games anymore.
Me too. In fact, I kind of thought it'd be a tough call for him to close games.
Yeah, especially when you had Scott and Adam and everybody else.
Yeah. I think Tanner Scott's a better bet for 2 years from now than Robert Suarez is.
I agree.
But if Robert Suarez comes back to San Diego and has a good year next year, he's going to opt out and he'll be gone anyway. So at this point, I think the move him and try and lock Tanner just makes all the sense in the world.
Makes the most sense.
Makes so much sense. And then you've got Adam, you've got Scott, you've got Estrada, you've got Morahone, you got Reynolds, you got Hoeing. All of it made, all of it lines up. It all lines up really nicely.
Pretty good bullpen, and then it makes the Sasaki sign, if you're able to get him, even more important. You got a pitching staff. You got a pretty damn good pitching staff.
Yep.
Top to bottom.
You already got almost all of a really good lineup. Just a couple of spots you need to clean up. Left field, catcher. Tack those spots on.
Catcher's going to be very difficult.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of options out there.
We could go ahead and sign Elias Diaz any day now. Like we could have signed Solano.
True.
I like how you waited perfectly for the bumper to hit. Well done, young man. Well done. That's it for this Monday edition of Annie and Elsten. Best of luck to our dear friend Annie as she and the San Diego Sports Association take on the Salute to Champions dinner tonight. Braden will be there.
I'll be there. I'll give you the full report tomorrow.
Yep, we will have that report and so much more. But Gwen and Chris are on deck. For Braden, I'm Craig. This has been Annie and Elsten. Thanks so much for part of your day.